My House of Horrors Chapter 1021 to 1040. The third sick hall was a turning point for Chen Ge. In the past, he had always been running away, but this was the first time he tried to resist. It was then that he realized that even the bad guys could feel fear. Returning to the place where the dream started, Chen Ge jumped over the wall and found the door. Since he had missed midnight, Chen Ge had to use another method to open the door. Actually, he had wanted to try something, but he had not had the chance. There were still many mysteries surrounding the door. Many door pushers did not know much about the door that they had opened, much less a normal person like Chen Ge. Summoning Shu Yin and the red high heels, Chen Ge used the blood vessels and curses one after another, but nothing happened to the door. Then he summoned foul odor and the headless woman. The number of red specters continued to increase, and a chilling wind blew. Endless blood vessels crawled on the wall like they were going to paint the whole corridor red. The few red specters used their respective powers on the door, but none of them could really open it. Chen Ge held the comic and was about to summon the other red specters when the door suddenly started to shake without warning. Blood leaked out from the door, and footsteps echoed in the empty room. Finally, there's a reaction. Is it Meng Nan who's coming? The footsteps approached. When the blood covered the door was pushed open. A child who was only taller than Chen Ge's knee leaned against the door and lifted his head to look outside. Meng Nan, long time no see, Pa. The blood-red door was slammed shut instantly. Before Chen Ge could react, the door was pushed open again. Several seconds later, the door was pushed open again. Meng Nan's eyes scanned the red specters, and he raised his small hand to give himself a slap. Once he opened the door, he saw several red specters standing outside the door, sending him warmth. There was no more realistic nightmare than this. Pa. The door was closed again, and the bloodstains on the door quickly disappeared. Meng Nan, Brother Nan, I have something important to tell you this time. The ghost fetus that was separated from the shadow's body is about to be revived. He has lost his mind and is extremely vengeful. Chen Ge knocked on the blood-red door. The situation is very dangerous now. Please open the door first. Several seconds later, the blood door opened slightly again. Meng Nan leaned against the gap and peeked out. Are you here to silence me? How can you think like that? The two of us have gone through fire and water together, so we can be considered to be friends who have gone through life and death together. I definitely won't harm you. The blood door slowly opened, and Meng Nan's eyes wandered around the red specters. He was a little scared. He felt like a primary school student who was surrounded by a few gangsters with tattoos all over their bodies. I know about the ghost fetus. I once heard from the people from the Society of Strange Tales that the thing is very scary. One look, and I'll be gone. Meng Nan waved at Chen Ge. I really can't help you. I'll see you later. I'm going to fix the window. I don't know what happened in the Red City, but the amount of blood fog has increased. I have to fix the window before the disaster happens. Meng Nan, you don't have to be so humble. In terms of power, you are indeed weaker than the other red specters, but perhaps it is because you are too weak that you have retained your rationality as a human. That is the most important thing. Chen Ge squatted down before Meng Nan. You can communicate with me freely, and you are more intelligent than normal people. If something happens to me, you will be able to make the right choice on your own. Meng Nan was the weakest among the red specters, but he had an advantage that most red specters did not have. He had retained his rationality and was not affected by negative emotions. Hearing your praise, why'd I not only feel unhappy, but I also feel offended? Meng Nan scratched his neck, and his petite brows were creased together. Let me think about it. No door pusher can survive alone. If we cannot stop the ghost fetus, one day, he will come to us. Do you still remember the time when you were imprisoned by the Society of Strange Tales? The ghost fetus will be crueler than they are. After 10 minutes of hesitation, Meng Nan finally agreed. Fine, I will help you one last time. After I kill the ghost fetus, I will send you back immediately. Chen Ge flipped through the comic. He valued Meng Nan so much because he wanted to complete a plan. A plan that he could carry out even if he lost his consciousness and was on the verge of death. It's decided then. If you dare lie to me, I will haunt you as a ghost. After closing the door to the third sick hall, Meng Nan did not resist and was sucked into the comic. The kid has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Chen Ge summoned the red specters around him back one by one until only Xu Yin remained. The two stayed in the empty corridor for a while. Chen Ge took out the recorder from his backpack. Xu Yin, if you can't find me one night, do not do anything rash. You can go and ask Meng Nan. He is actually a very clever specter. He will help you make the right choice, understand? With unresolvable sadness in his eyes, Xu Yin nodded slightly. Come on, let's go to the next location. Summoning Xu Yin back, Chen Ge left the third sick hall. He did not go back to rest but hailed a cab to head to Zhang Ming's residential area. After tonight, there will only be 7 nights left. Time flies when I think about it. Zhang Ming lived in a high-end residential area at the center of Zhujiang. According to the employee from the futuristic theme park, this place belonged to Zhang Ming. Only he and the child lived there. The cab stopped at the entrance. The gate was closed, and the security guard was playing with his phone. It was difficult to enter from the front door. After getting out of the car, Chen Ge carried his backpack to the other side of the residential area. He sat on the curb and summoned Meng Nan. Block A, Block 3, 4th floor. Go and take a look. The target is a child about your age. He is deaf, and his name is Zhang Ming. He should be one of the 9 children chosen by the ghost fetus. This kind of difficult mission could only be left to Meng Nan. He was smart, and he was a red specter. He could move around at night, and he did not need a possession. His power was enough to deal with normal danger. Do I have to go alone? If the ghost fetus is really with him, wouldn't I be dead for sure? Meng Nan shook his head like a rattledrum. The ghost fetus will wake up after 8 nights. I just want you to confirm it and see if there is anything strange about the child and his place of residence. Chen Ge silently pointed at the surveillance camera next to the residential area. There is a blind spot on the left. If you find anything important, I will rush there immediately. I suspect you are setting me up. Meng Nan grumbled as he entered the residential area. Chen Ge used yin-yang vision to look at him. 10 minutes later, Meng Nan, who had disappeared from Chen Ge's sight, suddenly appeared. His small hands were cold, and the red shirt was dancing with blood vessels. You fought with them? Are there ghosts inside the house? There are no ghosts. The shock in Meng Nan's eyes had not faded. He lifted his head to look at Chen Ge. But there is a door that can barely be seen inside the house. It is right next to the child's bed. There is a door next to the child's bed? Yes, there seems to be something trying to come out from behind the door. Meng Nan was confused. When I got close, the door shook violently, and then something even weirder happened. The boy who was sleeping soundly woke up. Didn't you say he is deaf? Even if he has normal hearing, do you think a normal person can hear the sound of the door? Chen Ge was quite surprised. After the boy woke up, the door disappeared. He couldn't see me, but he seemed to know there was someone else in the room. He whispered, "Dad." Meng Nan sat beside Chen Ge on the curb. The two stared at each other. He seemed to want to say something else, but that's all he could say. Can you describe the door that appeared next to the boy's bed in more detail? What's the difference between that door and the door that you pushed open yourself? It's very surreal, like it will disappear at any moment. The blood vessels on the door are very faint, and they're all gathered at one spot like they're pieced together. This was the first time that Meng Nan had seen a door like that. It's hard to explain. I suggest you go and take a look yourself. Their residential area has a password lock, and there are cameras everywhere. If I go there with my backpack, I'll definitely be discovered. If I act rashly, I'll only alert the enemy. After Chen Ge's observation, he realized that the residential area was well protected. He would not be able to sneak into the boy's house without being noticed. Change of plan. Chen Ge looked at his phone. When he left the third sick hall, it was 12:50 p.m., and now it was 1:30 a.m. Should I force my way in? There's no need. We'll come back tomorrow when Zhang Ming goes to work. Chen Ge stood up and went to a nearby stall to order some food. Do you want some? It's fine. Call me when you come back tomorrow. I'm quite interested in that boy as well. Meng Nan returned to the comic. After Chen Ge had his fill, he called a cab to get to Zhang Yuan Apartments. Actually, Chen Ge's original plan was to go to Coffin Village, But now that he was in the mountains, it would be morning before he found Coffin Village. I'll go there in the future if I have the chance. I should have the right to know more now. At 2 a.m., Chen Ge arrived at Zhongyuan Apartments. He carried the heavy backpack and entered the stairwell. Returning to the same place, with the same people, but the feeling was completely different. Chen Ge had not forgotten everything that had happened during the nightmare mission. This time, he purposely went to those dark and scary corners. However, probably because the red specter inside the building had warned him beforehand, nothing came out to scare Chen Ge. I remember someone tried to drag me into a room on this floor. Chen Ge took out the hammer from his backpack and politely knocked on the door at 2:30 a.m. He waited outside for a long time, but no one came to open the door. Just as he was about to give the lock a try, a child's laughter came from the stairwell. The people who lived here moved out the night you came. A boy about 7 or 8 years old was squatting on the railing of the stairs. His blood-red clothes were soaked, and blood kept dripping down. His eyes were swollen and white. If anyone saw a child squatting in their own corridor at night, they would probably be scared silly. I'm a water ghost. I was killed in the water, and I wandered for a long time before I found this door. It's a kind of luck to be able to become a red specter. The boy jumped down from the railing. He had long hair, and his white eyes stared right at Chen Ge. Our promise that day was that you would bring the real door pusher here at 2 a.m. 3 days later. It's not even the third day yet, so why are you here so early? I already have a clue about the real door pusher. Chen Ge put down the hammer and picked up his backpack. I didn't push open the door here, it was the shadow. At the time, I told him all the negative things, and he couldn't take it anymore. That's why he pushed the door open, but since he was just a shadow, the door wasn't fully pushed open. Chen Ge was lying with a straight face. He did not know the truth, he just wanted to push the blame to the shadow. You said your shadow pushed open the door. The red specter took one step forward, and the next moment, he appeared before Chen Ge. His face stuck close to Chen Ge. The door can only be pushed open at the most desperate moment. Are you trying to lie to me? Quote. It's true. The shadow has separated from the ghost fetus, and he wants to be reborn as a human. Chen Ge told him everything he knew about the ghost fetus. Initially, the red specter did not believe him, but the more he listened, the more he felt like Chen Ge was not lying. In the end, when he heard the names of Jia Ming and Bei Yi, his expression changed, and that was noticed by Chen Ge as well. Do you know Jia Ming and Bei Yi? According to the information released by the police, Jia Ming and Bei Yi had indeed appeared at Zhongyuan Apartments. Chen Ge believed that as the owner of this building, it was normal for the red specter to have heard of these people's names. I don't know them, but, the red specter pointed at the door next to Chen Ge. They used to stay in that room. On the night you arrived, it was Jia Ming who wanted to drag you into the room to kill you. It was him. That's impossible. That night, I could clearly feel that the person who grabbed me was cold. He did not feel like a living person. Quote. There is an extremely evil spirit inside Jia Ming. It was it that personally made the move that day. I have no idea why it would place so much importance on you. The red specter had no reason to lie, everything he said should be the truth. Chen Ge did not expect such a coincidence to happen. Now he regretted not opening his eyes, but the person who regretted the most should be Jia Ming. The man did not know that Chen Ge did not have any employees with him, and Zhongya was in hibernation. He had missed his only chance to kill Chen Ge. Thinking back to it, Chen Ge would still break out in cold sweat. I knew there was a grudge between the two of you. They failed to kill you, and they seemed to be afraid of your revenge, so they escaped that night. You should have stopped them. The ghost fetus might be inside the child next to Jia Ming. If you had killed the ghost fetus, you would have been the real door pusher. Chen Ge sighed with regret. How do I know you're not lying to me? The red specter had a feeling that Chen Ge had become more confident this time. Even his tone sounded more forceful. The door here is useless to me. I just want to live a peaceful life as an ordinary person. Chen Ge calculated the time and felt like there was still a chance to salvage the situation. You are the owner of this place. You even know their names and the evil spirit inside their bodies. Then, you should have eavesdropped on other messages, right? Why would they come here? Quote. They are here to look for the altar, and there is indeed an altar here. The red specter's white eyes moved twice. He seemed to be reminded of something and prepared to leave in a hurry. Where is the altar? Chen Ge reached into his backpack. That is not a question you should be asking. Go back. I have already told you many things. The red specter was about to leave when the sound of static came from the corridor, and there was a pungent smell of foul odor. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. I think you can tell me more. Chen Ge flipped through the comic, and the blood-red shadows appeared one after another. Now do you know why Jia Ming escaped the moment he saw me? But don't worry, most of the time, I am a reasonable person. Quote. 1, 2, 3, 4. The number of red specters that the water ghost had seen in a few minutes was more than he had seen in the past 10 years. He wanted to leave, but it was too late. The corridor was swallowed by blood, and the resentment that was like a wave threatened to topple the roof. I am not interested in the door that you own, so there is no conflict of interest between us. If you want the door's approval to become the new door pusher, the easiest way is to kill the original door pusher, the ghost fetus. We have a common enemy now. Chen Ge looked at the water ghost, who was surrounded by several red specters. No matter how you look at it, we have a basis for cooperation. What do you think? The water ghost red specter's eyes that were filled with white moved rapidly. He looked around and realized that all the exits had been blocked. At that moment, several red specters were looking at him like he was food. I think you have a point. We are not enemies, and we shouldn't be enemies. If we start a fight, it will only benefit the ghost fetus. That's right. So, do you remember anything else now? Yes, the altar is in the basement. I'll take you there. Surrounded by several red specters, the water ghost led everyone into the basement. The place was very humid, and there was a musty smell in the air. The corridor was filled with various trash, and 2 rusted bicycles were abandoned at the entrance. Many houses at Zhongyuan apartments have been rented out. Some of the tenants' belongings were left behind. If the landlord is reluctant to throw them away, they will leave them here. The group reached the end of the corridor. At the corner of the wall at the end of the corridor, there was a wooden altar. The inner wall of the altar was carved with the word, death. There were many spider webs and insect carcasses inside, but there was no mud statuette. Have Jia Ming and the rest been to the basement? No. The water ghost's tone became gentler. This altar was left behind by an old tenant. He sold his house to pay his debt. The new owner thought the altar was unlucky, so he wanted to throw it away, but he was afraid of offending the God that lived inside the altar, so he placed it in the basement. Do you know where the family moved to? Chen Ge did not expect things to go so smoothly. He had found another clue about another child. The night before they moved, I heard from the householder that they were going to send their children to a special school in Western Zhejiang, so I guess they went to Western Zhejiang. Child. Peiji School. Chen Ge was now even more certain that the child was one of the people he was looking for. Do you still remember the child's face? Yes. That makes things easier. For the next 8 days, you will follow me. We will go and find the ghost fetus together. Chen Ge did not give the water ghost red specter much choice. In fact, he was not even asking for the water ghost red specter's opinion, he was telling him what to do. I cannot leave this place for too long. The door will become active at night. If I leave it alone for too long, the building will have an extra 14th floor. The water ghost hoped that Chen Ge would realize the severity of the problem. It's okay, I'll give you time to come back and close the door. Chen Ge invited the water ghost back into the comic. He stood before the altar and started to think about something else. The child corresponding to this altar is not the child who was with Ji Yuming, so how did Ji Yuming find this place? He can sense the location of the altar. He stayed in Zhejiang to look for other altars. If Ji Yuming can really sense the location of the altar, then I have to find him as soon as possible. Chen Ge did not expect that the few red specters that he had missed would be able to help him solve this problem. There was another red specter in the comic. Including the red specters in the costume, the number of red specters around Chen Ge had reached a scary level. But even with so many red specters, Chen Ge still did not feel safe at all. There was a gap between a baleful specter and a red specter, and it was the same between a red specter and a demon god. To use a red specter to kill a demon god, One had to come up with a detailed plan and make perfect use of the power of all the red specters. It's going to be another fulfilling night. When Chen Ge left Zhongyuan Apartments and hailed a cab to return to New Century Park, it was almost dawn. After entering the haunted house, Chen Ge still did not go to sleep. Instead, he summoned Meng Nan and Tong Tong to do a little experiment. After a few more minutes, Chen Ge finally went to bed. He only slept for 3 or 4 hours before he quickly woke up to open the door for business. After helping his employees with their makeup and giving them some simple instructions, Chen Ge grabbed his backpack and left the house. It feels like I've been meeting the boss less and less recently. Is it my imagination? He seems to be busy with something else. We should focus on our work. When the boss comes back at night, we can ask him about it. Running out from New Century Park, Chen Ge saw a taxi parked by the roadside. Without thinking too much about it, he walked over. Coincidentally, he had taken this taxi the night before. I'm going to hand in my car and get off work. Why don't you switch to another one? The driver glanced at Chen Ge. Brother, have we met somewhere before? Perhaps. I prefer to take a taxi for a ride at night. Chen Ge opened the door and got in. Eastern Zhujiang's futuristic theme park. Hurry up. Something big might happen if you're late. At the entrance of the futuristic theme park, Chen Ge found the worker and explained his purpose. He wished to meet Zhang Ming. If it was not convenient for the man, it was fine. He would buy a ticket to go to the haunted house to find him and livestream a few more times. As the face of New Century Park, Chen Ge had been listed as a key target by the futuristic theme park. After the worker recognized him, he immediately ran toward the futuristic theme park. 10 minutes later, Zhang Ming, who was wearing the theme park's uniform, walked toward Chen Ge with a deep frown. You're looking for me. Zhang Ming maintained his distance from Chen Ge. This should be the first time we've met, right? I have some things that I need to clarify. Chen Ge signaled for Zhang Ming to follow him. They came to a less crowded corner. There is an old manor at the center of your haunted house, and there is an altar placed inside it. Inside the altar is my decapitated mud statuette. I wish to ask you, what is the meaning of this? How do you know that's your mud statuette? Is your name on it? Perhaps it's just a similarity. Quote. It really does have my name on it. Chen Ge took out his phone. I took a picture of it. Zhang Ming's reaction was different from what Chen Ge expected. He did not seem to know that there was an old manor at the center of the haunted house, and he did not know what the altar and the statuette represented. Of course, that could be his disguise. Perhaps it's a prank from one of the workers. We will investigate this matter thoroughly and give you a satisfactory explanation. Zhang Ming's answer was basically no answer. If there's nothing else, I'll be going back. Wait, I will definitely help you deal with it, but please be patient. It's office hours now. Your New Century Park might be free, but we're very busy here. Zhang Ming just wanted to send Chen Ge away. Give me your contact number before you leave, or else I won't be able to find the person in charge next time. Chen Ge took out his phone and opened his WeChat QR code. Haha, you sure are an interesting person. Zhang Ming also took out his phone and scanned it symbolically. After accepting the friend request, Zhang Ming shoved the phone back into his pocket. He did not notice the smile on Chen Ge's face, and he did not notice the 2 ghosts that were attached to his phone. Tong Tong's possession was a phone, and he was the only specter that could communicate with him from a distance. Baby Han from the Society of Strange Tales had used this trait to lure Chen Ge out of the haunted house with Gao Rushui as bait. However, Tong Tong had a weakness. His body was very fragile. Using his power during the day would cause damage to his body. There were also many limitations. For example, he could not use it in crowded places or places where the sun shone on him. Chen Ge had considered this, so he had done an experiment the previous night. He had Meng Nan and Tong Tong reside on the same phone. With the protection of a red specter, Tong Tong would not be affected that much during the day. As long as nothing happened to Meng Nan, he could use his power many times, but the exhaustion would be greater. With the protection of a red specter, Chen Ge did not need to worry about Tong Tong's safety. Even if he was discovered, Meng Nan could escape with Tong Tong. There were so many people at the futuristic theme park, they could just find a random phone to hide on. Jiang Ming did not realize the severity of the situation. He probably did not take Chen Ge seriously at all. After sending Jiang Ming off, Chen Ge put his phone away. Tong Tong and Meng Nan had been hiding on his phone. Hopefully, they will be able to get some useful information. Zhang Ju had to be an old fox to have gotten to where he was. It would be very difficult to find a weakness from him, so Chen Ge would have to start with the people around him. Gathering information was part of Chen Ge's plan. He had Tong Tong and Meng Nan follow Jiang Ming for another reason. When the sky turned dark, he would repeat the same trick that the Society of Strange Tales had used on him on Jiang Ming. After dealing with that, Chen Ge rushed to the only Peiji Academy in western Zhejiang. Before entering the school, he found a corner and flipped through the comic to communicate with the Red Spectre. "I'll enter the school in a bit. If you see that boy, remember to remind me." After pacing around the school gate for a while, before Chen Ge could enter, a young woman in her 20s took the initiative to walk over. "Hello, how can I help you?" Chen Ge looked around the school and saw some children playing in the field. He wanted to say something but hesitated. After a long time, he said, "Something happened to my relative's family. His child was sent to the orphanage. The child doesn't communicate with anyone and refuses to communicate. Now that the situation is getting worse, I'm worried that his life will be ruined if he continues like this, so I want to pick him up and send him to our school. Our school accepts students with mental retardation, autism, cerebral palsy, and multiple disabilities. If the situation is suitable, you can bring him here." The young woman was very kind. "But this is a private place. The tuition fees may be a little expensive, but you can rest assured that we will develop and implement a separate education plan for each child." "Is the tuition a little expensive?" Chen Ge pursed his lips and twisted his hands together. He thought about it for a long time before replying, "Can I go in and take a look at how you normally conduct your classes?" "Of course, all the teachers here are the most professional, and the atmosphere is very pleasant." The female teacher very passionately led Chen Ge into the school. On the field, the teacher was playing games with a few children. They were all very simple and repetitive games. The main purpose was to encourage the children to participate. Past the field was the education block. The wall was printed with the words, "Educating the child is the foundation." The classroom was very bright. Be it in the morning or afternoon, there was plenty of light, and it looked clean and tidy. Our school focuses on the development of intelligence, adaptation to society, and practical life. We have set up 12 courses for different children. The female teacher explained patiently to Chen Ge, and Chen Ge listened carefully. Initially, he came here to look for the child chosen by the ghost fetus, but when he was actually here, he suddenly felt touched. This world was unfair to them, but even so, they still tried their best. The smile under the sun was beautiful. Chen Ge looked at the children in the classroom. Will the ghost fetus be among them? He walked past 2 classrooms, and when he came to the last classroom, Chen Ge's hands, which were holding the backpack, suddenly felt wet. He lowered his head to look, and his palms were covered in blood. The child is here. While no one noticed, Chen Ge quickly wiped his hands. He did not expect the water ghost's reminder to be so obvious. "Can I go in to take a look?" Chen Ge scanned the classroom. He pointed at the last row. The other children were gathered around the teacher, and only the child stood alone by the wall. "What's wrong with that child?" Seeing Chen Ge walk in, the teacher volunteered to answer his question. Wu Sheng hit a classmate, so he was punished to stand. We have to teach them the correct concept from a young age. If they do something wrong, there will be consequences. His name is Wu Sheng. Chen Ge walked toward the boy. When he stopped next to the boy, his hands that held the backpack started to bleed again. It scared Chen Ge so much that he quickly placed his hands on his chest. The teacher and students standing behind him did not see it, but the little boy standing in front of him saw it clearly. "Looks like it's him." Chen Ge wiped the blood from his palms and squatted down before the boy. The teacher walked over. Since he was born, the boy has not said a complete sentence. He hates being around other people and refuses to communicate. The teacher signaled for Chen Ge to stay away from the boy. Wu Sheng's father is a homeless singer. He's a good person. Initially, he thought the boy did not know how to speak because he had given the boy a bad name. The first time he changed the boy's name to Wu Yusheng, then to Wu Busheng. It was a double negative, but after some struggle, he still called him Wu Sheng. Quote, Wu Sheng's situation is quite similar to my relative's child. Can I have a chat with him? I'm afraid you can't. We have to be responsible for the child. Your unintentional comment might touch on their inner weakness. Then, can I have a chat with his family? After all, we're in the same boat. Quote, understood. The teacher gave Chen Ge Wu Sheng's father's phone number. They chatted for a while before Chen Ge left. After exiting the school, Chen Ge called Wu Sheng's father directly, but there was no answer. Of the confirmed children, one has lost his memory, one is deaf, and one can't speak. Other than me, everyone has lost something important. Chen Ge stood by the road and looked at the passing cars. Now that I think about it, if I'm one of the 9 children, then I should have lost something important as well, but the question is, what have I lost? Could it be that I have lost my own shadow? Quote, every child chosen by the ghost fetus had some kind of defect, and Chen Ge was no exception, but the thing that he had lost might be different from the other children. Memory, shadow, and even parents, Chen Ge had lost too much, and he could not be sure himself. There are 7 more nights, and the truth is getting closer and closer to me. After leaving Western Zhujiang's Peiji Academy, Chen Ge returned to New Century Park. Since everything was done, he needed a good rest. At 8 p.m., Chen Ge's phone vibrated. It was a message from Zhang Ming. I'm already home. This was the signal that the phone spirit, Meng Nan, and Chen Ge had agreed on. After Chen Ge received the message, he shoved all the employees that he could into his backpack and ran out of the haunted house. At 9 p.m., Chen Ge arrived at the city center. He did not go to Zhang Ming's residential area directly but went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. At 10:30 p.m., Chen Ge received the second message from Zhang Ming. Then he moved and slowly walked toward Zhang Ming's residential area. He had scouted the place the day before and knew where the surveillance's blind spots were. At 11:20 p.m., Chen Ge received the third message from Zhang Ming. He made his move immediately. He jumped over the fence and entered the residential area. The whole process was completed in seconds. Chen Ge carried his backpack and walked toward one of the buildings. At the same time, Zhang Ming rushed out of the building and headed toward the underground parking lot. After Zhang Ming drove away, Chen Ge walked to the entrance of the building. The anti-theft door was opened from the inside, and Meng Nan poked his head out. The plan is going smoothly. Zhang Ming has been completely fooled by the phone spirit. The boy is already asleep, right? Yes, bring me upstairs. Chen Ge's plan was simple. After the boy fell asleep, the phone spirit would mimic Zhangju and use Zhang Ming's phone to give him various orders and have him run around that night. The corridor and his house are all locked with a combination lock. When he opened the door, I memorized the password. Meng Nan led Chen Ge to the 4th floor and opened the door. Wait a moment. Chen Ge took out the shoe covers and gloves from his backpack and put them on before entering the house. Even though this was one of the most luxurious residential areas in Zhujiang, the decoration of Zhang Ming's home was very normal. Many of the furniture was old and broken, and it did not match the overall style. It gave off the feeling that they purposely placed the old furniture in the most obvious spots. Today, Zhangju did not contact Zhang Ming for the whole day. He behaved normally, like a normal park worker. Is there any information about the child on Zhang Ming's phone? For example, who is the child's mother? When did the child's ears start to have problems? Chen Ge whispered. The phone is very clean. There are no clues, and I can't find any pictures related to the child. This means that the child's existence is a secret. If Zhang Ming's ex-girlfriend did not accidentally see it, no one would know that Zhang Ming has a child with the same name as him. You can see it that way. All the information about the child was blank. Chen Ge could only search for clues inside the house. To save time, he also released Lao Zhou and the rest. The lights in the house were not on, and shadows flickered inside the house. Several minutes later, Chen Ge did find something. He found a crumpled letter inside the study's trash can. The content of the letter was basically that the sender needed more money. If the money was not given, he would take the child away and not allow the child to stay at the house anymore. Using the child as a bargaining chip, Chen Ge looked at the letter. The child is living with Zhang Ming, but I can't find any information related to the child's mother. Could the sender of this letter be the child's mother? Is this child Zhang Ming's biological son? Quote. Chen Ge and his employees stood inside the study. Other than this letter, they had found nothing else. Whether he is biological or not, there must be something at this house that can prove the child's identity. Did Zhang Ming leave these things with Zhang Ju? Or is there a hidden room inside the house? Quote. After another round of searching, Zhou finally found a hidden safe behind the bookshelf. For Chen Ge, he did not need to open the safe to take out its contents. He only needed to have his employees enter the safe to take a look. 10 seconds later, Lao Zhou crawled out from the gap of the safe. This child is not related to Zhang Ming or Zhang Ju by blood. He was left at their home by someone else. There is a foster care agreement inside the safe. As long as the couple agrees to let the child live here, Zhang Ju will pay them 5,000 every month. Based on the signature, the child's biological father's name is Zhang Dao. Quote. Did you find anything else? There is a mud mannequin inside the safe. The name Zhang Ming is written on it, so we can confirm that Zhang Ming is one of the children chosen by the ghost fetus. Other than that, there is proof of the child's identity. His real name is Zhang Ming, but it is the employee from the futuristic theme park who changed his name. Lao Zhou arranged his thoughts. Zhang Ju's adopted son's original name is Zhang Wei. He changed his name to Zhang Ming when Zhang Ming was placed at his home. Why would the adult change his name to that of a child? Is it because he wants to take away something that belongs to Zhang Ming? There is nothing to take away from the child, other than the curse that is the ghost fetus. There was no such thing as free love in this world. Zhang Ju must have wanted something from the child, and that was why he raised him at his home. Perhaps Zhang Ju wants to trick the ghost fetus, and he wants to become the ghost fetus' father. Lao Zhou analyzed. The evil spirit in Zhang Ju and Zhang Ming was left behind by the ghost fetus. He shouldn't have the courage to mess up the ghost fetus plan. From Chen Ge's perspective, any normal person would not choose to get involved with the ghost fetus. That might not be the case. What if Zhang Ju underestimates the ghost fetus, and the ghost fetus underestimates the greed of the living? You have a point. Chen Ge nodded at Lao Zhou with admiration. He had a feeling that Lao Zhou's future was limitless. The phone spirit's trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain can only be used once. After Zhang Ming and Zhang Ju meet in the morning, they will definitely discover the problem, so we only have one chance tonight. There were no other clues in the room, so Chen Ge decided to personally go and take a look at the boy. Pushing open the bedroom door lightly, Chen Ge looked into the room. The boy was already asleep, and he did not realize that there were several people in the room. To prevent Zhang Ming from being spooked when he woke up, Chen Ge summoned Lao Zhou and the rest into the comic and only entered the room with Meng Nan. On the surface, the boy looked normal, no different from other children. He could not be connected to the scary ghost fetus. Chen Ge and Meng Nan walked to the window. They waited until midnight. The room slowly changed, and a door silently appeared next to the boy's bed. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. The boy was fast asleep in bed. He did not even notice the appearance of the door. Compared to last time, this door seems to be closer to the boy. Look closer. Something behind the door is trying to escape, Meng Nan said softly. Could it be the ghost fetus? This scene was similar to when the door at the School of the Afterlife appeared, but it was just a similarity. The door that appeared next to the boy's bed was not real. It felt surreal, like it would shatter with a touch. There were light blood vessels flowing on the door, but it did not give off any uncomfortable presence. This was what confused Chen Ge the most. He had seen many blood doors, including the door at the School of the Afterlife. Once the door changed, the surroundings would become eerie, and the air would be filled with the stench of blood, but this door was an exception. He did not feel any threat. Its appearance was more like a reminder to the boy. There are too few blood vessels on this door, right? Chen Ge carried the backpack and slowly approached the door. He only took a few steps when the door's lock suddenly vibrated. The sound was not loud, and the boy did not wake up. When Chen Ge took a step back, the door returned to normal. I can't get close. Chen Ge put down the backpack and signaled to Meng Nan before walking toward the door alone. This time, the door did not react. It's really because of a red specter. Standing before the door, Chen Ge made a very brave move. He reached his hand toward the door. The door itself was like a spirit. Chen Ge's finger passed through the door. I can't touch it. This is the first time I've seen a door like this. Quote. He was not sure whether all the children chosen by the ghost fetus would have a door appear next to their bed after they fell asleep. In any case, he had not heard Fang Yu mention this before, so Zhongming might be an exception. If that was the case, then Chen Ge had to be even more careful because the ghost fetus might be hiding inside Zhongming's body. His finger moved on the door, but he could not touch the door. Just as he was about to give up, a bone-chilling sensation came from his fingertip. At this moment, Chen Ge's fingers stopped at the doorknob. Most of the blood vessels gather around the doorknob. Is that why the doorknob is solid? The phone spirit's trick could only be used once, so Chen Ge did not want to miss this opportunity. However, he did not dare open the blood door alone. Although there were very few blood vessels on it, he was not so arrogant that he would dare to enter the world behind the door alone. Do you want to take a gamble? The black phone said that if I can't find the ghost fetus in 9 nights, I will definitely die. In other words, the ghost fetus is not ready yet. Perhaps this is the moment when he is at his weakest. Quote. The opportunity was right in front of him. Chen Ge was unwilling to let it go. He slowly retreated. Meng Nan, give me the bag. You stay outside and guard the door. Are you going to go in just like that? Isn't this too arbitrary? Are you sure you won't reconsider? Quote. When a red specter approaches, the door will vibrate, and the sound will wake the child up. Once the child wakes up, the door will disappear, so I only have one chance. Chen Ge glanced at the child in bed. He is deaf, but he can hear the sound of the blood door. The thing that the child lost might be hidden inside the door. Taking out the recorder, Chen Ge hugged it in his arms. Then he took out the broken ballpoint pen and placed it in his pocket. After learning from his previous experience, he did not dare put everything inside his backpack anymore. After he was ready, Chen Ge took a deep breath, stared at the door, and rushed at full speed toward it. The blood door sensed the threat, and the lock shook violently. The eyelashes of the child in bed flickered. Just as he was about to open his eyes, Chen Ge pushed the door open and entered. Inside the dark bedroom, the boy sat up in bed. He looked around and stammered the word, "Dad," repeatedly. A horrible stench crawled into his nostrils. Chen Ge carried his backpack and looked around. This was a very old shared apartment. There were 7 to 8 rooms on each floor, and everyone shared the same bathroom and kitchen. The corridor was filled with all kinds of trash, and the ground was covered in stinking dirty water. Occasionally, one could see some rotten vegetable leaves. Where is this? Chen Ge turned back to look. Behind him was a large rusted iron door with peeling paint. There was a large lock on it, and there was no way to escape. Was this the door that I pushed open earlier? Chen Ge took out the ballpoint pen to do some experiments. He realized that he could communicate with his employees, and he calmed down instantly. The scenario behind the door was created based on the door pusher's memory. The scenario that I'm in should be the place that the boy has the deepest memory of. The place was dirty, messy, and smelly. The place that Zhongming could not forget and the place that he was currently living in were polar opposites. It is probably because this is the place that Zhongming's parents agreed to let Zhongju take the boy away. But when it comes to money, the boy's father even wrote threatening letters and sent bills to blackmail him. This kind of behavior is quite disgusting. Zhongming's biological parents did not seem to treat Zhongming as their own child, they merely saw him as a tool to earn money. They had no idea what their child was going through. The scenario behind this door is an apartment building. For Zhongming, the most unforgettable thing should be here. Chen Ge carried his backpack and walked forward. He did not walk for long before he saw a wooden sign hanging on the door of the family that was at the corner. The sign said, "If there's a problem, please pull on the rope next to you repeatedly." Does the boy live here? If he has a hearing problem, knocking on the door is indeed useless. Chen Ge pulled on the rope, and the lights in the room came on. He pulled several times, but no one came to open the door for him. The boy cannot hear, but his parents should be fine. Chen Ge looked at the light that came on inside the room, and he raised his hand to knock on the door. His fingers touched the steel door lightly. Chen Ge did not use much force, but the sound that came from it was very loud. Caught off guard, it gave him quite a fright. Why is this happening? Chen Ge quickly stopped. He slowly noticed the uniqueness of this scenario. Silence. There was no sound, only dead silence. Is Zhongming's world like this? Those who were born deaf and mute should not have the concept of sound. But those who lost their sense of hearing would have sound in their memory. Their mind was not quiet, but there was an impenetrable membrane between reality and their memory. It was a very thin membrane, so thin that the two worlds on both sides were exactly the same, but it was impossible for one's own voice to pass through. After the knocking stopped, the scene behind the door became slightly different from before. The stench in the air thickened, and it was mixed with the smell of alcohol. Without any warning, a man's face suddenly appeared at the second-floor staircase. He was like a pile of boneless mud. His arms were connected to the bottle, and the glass had grown directly into his flesh. He used this deformed arm to support himself as he walked toward Chen Ge. He really does look like he's drunk. Chen Ge stared at the approaching monster. He pressed the play button on the recorder and called Shu Yin's name softly. However, to his surprise, Shu Yin did not appear, but the whole building started to bleed, and cracks started to appear on the walls. After communicating with Shu Yin, Chen Ge realized that he was being stopped by some kind of force, and he was trying to force his way through, but he needed some time. When I entered the world behind the door at the underground morgue, I encountered something similar, but the scene behind the door is completely different from Dr. Gao's underground morgue. Putting the recorder back into his backpack, Chen Ge took out the hammer and stood in the corridor. There's no need to hide. The scary-looking hammer scraped against the old wall. When the monster got close, Chen Ge aimed it at the monster's arm. The wine bottle that grew in the arm was smashed, and the glass flew everywhere, sinking into the monster's body. Can you communicate? The monster did not feel pain. His arm was broken, but he moved faster. When he got close to Chen Ge, he reached out his other arm to grab at Chen Ge's head, and his whole body leaned forward. Looks like he has no self-consciousness. Holding the hammer with both hands, Chen Ge swung it upward and hit the monster's chin heavily. The already deformed head was almost smashed off, and only a thin layer of skin was left hanging on the monster's neck. The smell of alcohol in the air thickened. After the monster was injured, he became more violent and ugly. Chen Ge was still thinking about how to deal with this monster when he felt a chill run down his back. He slowly turned his head to look. The doors of the apartments on both sides of the corridor had been opened, and several twisted monsters silently appeared behind Chen Ge. They were very close to Chen Ge. The natives behind this door don't seem to make a sound no matter what they do. They can hear me, but I can't hear them. Thinking about it, Chen Ge realized that this was Zhongming's situation. He was deaf, and no matter what others did, he could not hear them. However, if he made a sound, the people around him would react immediately. So, I'm standing on Zhongming's side. This was the first time that Chen Ge had encountered such a strange world behind the door, and he felt troubled. The enemy could approach him silently and was difficult to kill, but if he made the slightest noise, the enemy would notice him. I'll deal with this one first. After the drunkard was injured, his face became as red as blood, and thick veins popped out. He became even more berserk, and the hand that was originally connected to the bottle waved around, and no matter what it touched, it would fuse with it. The world behind the door is weaved based on Zhongming's memory. This man should be someone that has left a deep impression in the boy's memory. He is a drunkard with a violent temper. After being resisted, he will go into a rage and grab whatever he can grab and continue to attack. Chen Ge looked at the drunkard who was inches away from him, and he stared at the man's twisted face. This kind of person is the worst. Raising the hammer, Chen Ge aimed it at the monster's head. The head of the hammer sank into the monster's shoulder. He then kicked at the monster's stomach. Without giving it the chance to fight back, he hammered again and again on the monster's body. If he can still stand up after this, I'll have to consider other methods. The drunkard collapsed to the ground. His face that was full of veins turned even redder like it was about to explode, and his body was still slowly expanding. If this drunkard is the boy's father, in the boy's memory, his father is indeed undefeatable and impossible to escape from. Chen Ge turned back to look. The neighbors looked very strange as well. Their facial features were all twisted, and their ears and mouths were larger than normal. Perhaps it was because they had left a different impression on the boy, but each of them had different characteristics. Some had the smell of cheap perfume on them, and some had short limbs and large stomachs. These neighbors were all different, but when they saw Chen Ge and the drunkard fight, their reaction was strangely similar. They stood before their respective doors, perked up their ears, and whispered to each other. They would only move toward Chen Ge after he made some noise. As long as Chen Ge did not make any noise, they did not seem to care about Chen Ge. I wonder if I can kill those neighbors. Being stared at by this group of monsters, even Chen Ge felt pressured. The scariest thing about this scenario was that he had no idea when these things would approach him. Perhaps when he turned around, he would be followed by several faces. I can't hear their voices. This world is too quiet for me. The drunkard was probably Zhang Ming's biological father, so he would be hard to kill, but the same could not be said for the neighbors. Chen Ge's plan was to first knock out the drunkard and then kill all the neighbors. After he had cleaned up this world, he would slowly explore the place. The plan was simple and direct. He carried the hammer and walked toward the tenant closest to him. It was a middle-aged man wearing a tank top. His limbs appeared to have devolved, and they were half the length of a normal person. However, his stomach was bulging and covered in fat. There was a thin old lady in the room next to him. The old lady paced around the room like she was possessed, cleaning the place. There were several plastic tubes stuck into her body, and the tubes were connected to the medicine bottles in the corner that were filled with dirty water. Feeding on the old lady. The world in Zhang Ming's memory was completely different from the world in the eyes of the adults. It was so strange and absurd that even Chen Ge could not guarantee that his speculation was correct. The neighbors were monsters created from the twisted memories, so Chen Ge did not feel any pressure when he made his move. The hammer landed heavily, and the heavily injured middle-aged man slowly crawled into the room. He grabbed the tubes that were placed inside the medicine bottles and started to suck on them. The old lady who was busy inside the room became even thinner. Soon, the middle-aged man stood up. He waved his short limbs like he was taunting Chen Ge. These things can't be killed. At least, the hammer alone won't be able to kill them. The drunkard who had been knocked out earlier had almost recovered. He had become scarier and more violent than before. After a few more blows at the man, Chen Ge leapt over the drunkard and ran toward the second floor. Having learned his lesson, he moved as quietly as he could and did not make any noise. I need to hide for now. Chen Ge came to the bathroom on the second floor and silently hid inside. He used the recorder to communicate with Xu Yin. After asking, Chen Ge found out that the world behind the door was very unstable. If all 5 red specters exploded at the same time, they would be able to tear apart the boy's memory and escape. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, Chen Ge would not do that because tearing apart the boy's memory might harm the boy. After knowing the method to escape, Chen Ge calmed down. This door is approaching the boy, and when a red specter appears, it will make a sound to warn him. No matter how I look at it, this door doesn't mean Zhang Ming any harm. Chen Ge scratched his chin. Something is trying to come out from behind the door, but when I entered the world behind the door, I couldn't find that thing. Is it hiding somewhere? The thing behind the door did not want to harm Zhang Ming, so it couldn't be those malicious monsters. Perhaps this is where Zhang Ming lost his hearing. Chen Ge still remembered the mission details on the black phone. The ghost fetus mission is a game of hide and seek. After I enter the door, will I have to find the thing hidden by the ghost fetus? Will this be the first battle between me and the ghost fetus? Chen Ge believed that was possible. He took out the black phone and was about to confirm the mission when footsteps came from the second floor corridor. The footsteps were very light, like a child walking on their tiptoes. If not for Chen Ge's ghost ear, he would not have heard it. Someone is passing by. When this thought appeared in Chen Ge's mind, his eyes widened. No. The monsters behind the door formed from my memory won't make any sound. I've tested it earlier. Since he had lost his hearing, Zhongming could not hear the outside world, but he could hear the voice inside his heart. The world behind the door was made from his memory. The only person who could make a sound here, other than an outsider, was probably Zhongming himself. When he pushed open the toilet cubicle door, he saw that there was no one inside. Chen Ge walked out from the toilet with the hammer and backpack. He saw a few children standing in the corridor. The children were wearing clothes that were much cleaner than the neighbors. They were holding various toys and seemed to be playing a game. Is Zhongming among them? Chen Ge slowly approached them with the hammer. Before he reached them, the children noticed Chen Ge. The children looked bright, and their clothes were clean and pretty, but their appearance was hard to describe. Their eyes were especially big, and their mouths were split open as if they were making faces. The leader of the group pointed at Chen Ge and pulled on his own ear. The surrounding children all looked at him and laughed. From Chen Ge's point of view, there was no sound around him. He could not hear the children's laughter, only their hateful expressions. Those guys are laughing at me. Narrowing his eyes, Chen Ge's observation became more meticulous. Through the opening and closing of the children's lips, he had a rough idea of what they were saying. The children thought that Chen Ge was stupid and that he was different from normal people. They thought that whoever played with him would lose their hearing. Looks like Zhongming isn't among them. It's impossible for a deaf and mute person to laugh with them after hearing such a joke. Chen Ge raised the hammer, but he did not make a move. There's no point in arguing with children. After I leave this door, I'll teach them how to behave in real life and have them apologize to Zhongming while I'm at it. The reason why the neighbors were unable to communicate was because Zhongming was just a child and did not have much interaction with adults, but it was different for people his age. Zhongming remembered the mockery of these children very clearly. They should have played together often, and Chen Ge believed that he might be able to find clues about Zhongming from these children. He squatted down and used his hands to gesture with difficulty. He tried his best to communicate with the other children without making any noise. Chen Ge did not want to go through so much trouble, but once he made a sound, the drunkard would chase after him. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble, so Chen Ge had no choice but to do this. After gesturing for a long time, the group of children did not reveal any information to Chen Ge. They seemed to only know how to mock and humiliate him to gain satisfaction. Just as Chen Ge was about to give up, one of the children suggested playing a game. Chen Ge said that he wanted to join in. The leading child, kindly, gestured to Chen Ge. They wanted to play hide and seek, using rock, paper, scissors to determine who would be the one to catch. In the end, all the children offered paper, and only Chen Ge offered rock. The group of children had obviously conspired to trick Chen Ge. They scattered and started to hide, leaving Chen Ge alone in the second-floor corridor. A bunch of children, when I catch you, all. Chen Ge grumbled involuntarily. He only realized something was wrong when he was halfway through his sentence. He looked around, and thankfully, there were no monsters around. I'm used to talking, so I'm not used to suddenly being asked to keep quiet. Picking up the backpack, Chen Ge was about to move forward when he heard a sound next to his ear. It sounded like someone had accidentally knocked into a chair. The sound came from the direction where Chen Ge had heard the footsteps earlier. Zhongming. Chen Ge slowly walked to the end of the corridor. He noticed that one of the rental rooms was not locked. He pushed the door open lightly. The room was littered with the unique watercolor embroidery of Zhuzhong. There were not many people who knew how to do watercolor embroidery anymore, so Chen Ge did not expect to see it here. On the table were pieces of cloth of many colors, as well as embroidery needles of different lengths and threads of different colors. The whole apartment was dark in color, but this room appeared warm and bright. The bamboo chair is not by the table. Someone seems to have touched it earlier. Chen Ge closed the door and looked around. The room was not big. The person who lived here should be an old man because there was a pair of reading glasses inside the sewing frame, and there was a walking stick next to the bed. The table was placed in the middle of the room, and there were two bamboo chairs next to it. Normally, two people worked here. There was a black and white picture of the old man next to the bed. There was a sentence written under the picture frame. It was a mourning for her late husband. The owner of this room should be an old lady. This is where she lives and where she works. Chen Ge walked around the room, but he did not see the owner. This room is brightly colored, completely different from the other rentals. This should be a very special place for Zhang Ming. He feels warmth here. In Zhang Ming's memory, the owner must have treated him very well, but the problem was that the owner was not inside the room at the moment. Chen Ge did not want to give up just like that. When he searched the room for the second time, he heard a sound coming from the bedroom closet. Sneaking closer, Chen Ge yanked the closet open. A faded smell of mildew drifted into his nose. Chen Ge saw a 4 or 5-year-old boy hiding inside the closet. The boy was hiding in the corner of the closet. He was different from the other people behind the door. His facial features and body were completely normal, and there was not a trace of distortion. Zhang Ming, Chen Ge asked in a whisper. Hearing Chen Ge's voice, the boy's face was filled with disbelief. In this silent world, someone had suddenly said his name. After a short pause, Zhang Ming finally came back to his senses. He nodded his head vigorously. The boy was not born deaf. He has the impression of sound in his mind, but how did he become like this? Chen Ge squatted down beside the closet. He studied the boy before him closely. Clothes and shoes that were one size too big, and his face was dirty. His clear eyes were filled with shock. The boy hid behind the old man's clothes, and half of his face was exposed. You can hear me. Chen Ge put down the backpack and extended his hands toward the boy. Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. The boy hiding behind the clothes in the closet looked at Chen Ge shyly. He looked at Chen Ge's hand, and after a long hesitation, he slowly extended his own hand. The small, cold hand was placed in Chen Ge's palm, and the warmth that he had not felt for a long time caused the boy's eyes to slowly widen. Have you been staying here all this time? Chen Ge pointed at his feet. He wanted to ask the boy whether he had been hiding behind the door or not, but the boy misunderstood him. He waved his hands and started to gesticulate wildly. After watching for a long time, Chen Ge finally understood that the boy was playing with his friends. They were playing hide and seek, and he was hiding there to hide from the others. Looking at the boy who was trying his best to express himself, Chen Ge shook his head lightly. The children did not plan to look for him, he was just a target for their prank. He had been hiding inside the closet seriously, and when he finally opened the closet door, it would not be the children who found him but the owner of the house who had called him for dinner. Have you ever thought about making more friends? Have you ever thought about opening the window to see the outside world? Chen Ge had found the key character behind the door, Zhang Ming, but he had no idea what the relationship between this Zhang Ming and the Zhang Ming outside the door was. The Zhang Ming inside the door was probably the Zhang Ming outside the door who had lost his hearing, but the chance was not high. Combining the current clues, the door would only appear when the Zhang Ming outside the door was asleep, so the Zhang Ming inside the door was probably Zhang Ming's own consciousness. In this imaginary world, all the actions and characters are related to reality. Zhang Ming hid in the room that he felt was the warmest room with the intention of playing with his friends. That should be his best memory. Chen Ge wanted to say something else, but the look in Zhang Ming's eyes suddenly changed. It turned from shock to fear, and tears fell almost instantly. He's looking behind me. The smell of alcohol rushed into his nostrils. Without a word, Chen Ge kicked the ground, hugged the boy, and jumped to the side. The bottle shattered on the closet, and the glass shards flew everywhere, but there was no sound. The thick veins popped on his face. The drunken monster had run over. He had probably heard Chen Ge's voice. This thing sure won't go. The most troublesome thing is that I can't kill him. Chen Ge held the hammer in one hand and held the boy in the other. The boy was scared out of his wits. Like a wounded kitten, his body was shaking uncontrollably. The fear toward his drunken father is rooted in his heart, and it is this fear that he will be stronger. A plan formed in Chen Ge's mind. If I can help the boy overcome his fear and use my actions to tell him that his drunkard father is not invincible, then the situation should improve. It was easy to say, but it was too difficult to change the memories that were rooted in the bottom of his heart. Zhang Ming, don't be afraid. With me here, no one will be able to hurt you. Chen Ge placed the boy on the chair and gripped the hammer with both hands. At this rate, I can kill him 10 more times. After preparing, Chen Ge was about to make his move when the door to the room was suddenly pushed open. A white-haired old lady walked into the room holding a bowl of noodles. The old lady had a hunched back, and she was at least 70 years old. The expression on her face was kind, but when she saw the drunken man, her expression changed instantly. She put down the bowl of noodles, grabbed the cane by the bedside, and swung it at the drunken man. The originally scary drunken man panicked when he saw the old lady, and he started to panic. The drunken man did not feel any pain when his head was smashed by the hammer, but after being hit by the old lady's cane, he could not take it anymore and ran out of the room in a hurry. The old lady chased after him with the cane for a long time before she returned. She angrily slammed the door shut and then walked into the bedroom. She stood before the boy and lightly rubbed Zhang Ming's head. The old lady had Zhang Ming go to the table to eat. The noodles that she had just made were placed there. They were steaming hot, and they looked very appetizing. Zhang Ming ran over to eat, and the old lady turned to Chen Ge. The surprise in her eyes was no less than Zhang Ming's. "Granny, can you hear my voice?" The old lady nodded. "You still have your rationality. Can we communicate? You don't have to speak." Chen Ge took out the ballpoint pen that was covered in tape from his pocket and the comic from his backpack. He had both pen and paper. Looking at Chen Ge, the old lady said something, but Chen Ge could not hear her at all. She pushed away the ballpoint pen in Chen Ge's hand and turned to walk toward the living room. Staring at the old lady's back, Chen Ge suddenly realized that this old lady was different from the other people behind the door. Her body was transparent, like she could disappear at any moment. But more importantly, Chen Ge sensed a chill coming from her. Using his eyes, Chen Ge realized that this old lady did not appear to have been created based on Zhang Ming's memory but a lingering spirit that was about to disappear. Without an object of attachment, a lingering spirit could only exist for a limited time, and it was the same even behind the door. Even though the old lady's memory had overlapped with Zhang Ming's, that merely extended the time that she existed. When the day came, she would disappear. At that time, the old lady behind the door would be completely based on Zhang Ming's memory. That person might still be protecting Zhang Ming behind the door and making hot noodles for him, but at the end of the day, she would no longer be the same person. Chen Ge was more and more curious about the truth. He walked to the old lady's side. At that moment, the old lady was taking out a pen and paper from the drawer. She started to draw on the paper. With each word that she wrote, her body would become more transparent. After the old lady finished writing, she handed the paper to Chen Ge. There were only 4 words written on it: "Be careful of the snail." Snail. Chen Ge had entered the back door many times, so he was familiar with the world behind the door. The scariest thing in this place was the red specter, and scarier than the red specter were the demon gods, but the old lady was telling him to be careful of the snail. Is the snail scarier than the drunkard who can't be killed no matter what? Chen Ge asked softly. The old lady nodded. I understand. Then how are we going to leave this place? Hearing Chen Ge's voice, the old lady made a shushing gesture and then pointed at the word, snail, on the paper. The key to leaving this place is also on the snail. Is this snail the nickname of some specter? Or is it a reference to something else? Quote. Chen Ge was still thinking when Zhang Ming, who sat at the table, finished his noodles. He held the bowl and prepared to leave. It appeared like he wanted to wash the dishes, but he was stopped by the old lady. The old lady rubbed Zhang Ming's head lovingly and used the apron to wipe Zhang Ming's mouth clean. Then she stood before Zhang Ming and pointed at Chen Ge. Zhang Ming understood what the old lady meant immediately. He grabbed Chen Ge's hand and happily prepared to run out the door. What are you going to do? Chen Ge knew that the old lady did not mean any harm. Based on the old lady's action earlier, she had probably told Zhang Ming that she was going to take Chen Ge to complete something. When Zhang Ming heard Chen Ge's voice, he had an innocent smile on his face. It was like he was going to share his secret with someone else. He silently reached his hand into his pocket. Moments later, Zhang Ming took out a snail's shell from his pocket. He held the shell carefully, as if it was the most precious treasure to him. Snails. The old lady just reminded me to be careful of snails, so why did Zhang Ming take out a snail shell? Quote. Chen Ge was confused, but he knew the old lady would not harm Zhang Ming. Carefully putting the snail shell back into his pocket, Zhang Ming held Chen Ge's hand and walked out of the old lady's room. The boy led Chen Ge around the shared apartment. They went to the windowsill on the rooftop, the storage room that was filled with coal briquettes, the cubicle that was filled with trash. Whenever he found a snail, Zhang Ming would be very happy. Chen Ge had no idea why Zhang Ming would work so hard to find a snail, but seeing how serious Zhang Ming was, he did not have the heart to interrupt him. Accompanying Zhang Ming silently, they ran around the apartment and only found 4 snails. Zhang Ming placed all of them into his pocket, and then holding Chen Ge's hand, they ran down to the first floor. As long as they did not make any noise, the strange neighbors would not come. After Zhang Ming's father was beaten up by the old lady, he did not show up again. "Are you going home?" Zhang Ming nodded happily. He led Chen Ge to stand outside the rented apartment with the wooden sign and reached out to pull on the rope. After the light inside the room flickered several times, the door was opened, and a slender woman with pale skin appeared behind the door. When she saw Zhang Ming return safely, there was a gentle smile on her face. Then, when she saw Chen Ge, a trace of panic crossed her eyes like she was afraid of the arrival of a stranger. The woman signed with Chen Ge. She appeared to be deaf and mute as well. Chen Ge did not understand the complicated sign language, so he could only maintain the smile to make himself appear more approachable. The door slowly opened, and Zhang Ming excitedly ran to the woman. He took out one snail after another from his pocket like he was showing off. The woman touched the boy's head, and with a gentle smile on her face, she looked at Zhang Ming's happy face quietly. This should be Zhang Ming's mother. After entering the room, Chen Ge closed the door. Looking at the harmonious scene in front of him, Chen Ge could not blend in at all. The woman's face was like an ordinary person, but her body was covered with patches. Looking from afar, Zhang Ming's mother looked like a rag doll. There were no patches on her body except for her hands and her face. The rest of her body was sewn and patched, and her skin was like a tattered coat. Chen Ge didn't dare to imagine what the woman had gone through to have such an image appear in the child's memory. The woman gestured with her hands as if she was praising Zhang Ming, but the happy atmosphere in the room soon disappeared. The light at the door lit up again. The rag doll's mother and young Zhang Ming both turned to look at the door. Finally, Zhang Ming's mother walked to the door and opened it. The pungent smell of alcohol rushed into his nostrils, and a ferocious-looking drunkard appeared at the door. The mud-like body was pressed against the door frame, and the arm that was connected to the bottle pointed at Chen Ge. The drunkard glared at the rag doll woman. The woman gestured with her hands, but the drunkard had already lost his patience, and he pushed her away. Seeing the drunkard walk in, Zhang Ming took out the few snails from his pocket and jogged to stand before the drunkard. He held the snails with both hands, wanting to show them to the drunkard, but before he could reach his hands out, the drunkard slapped Zhang Ming's arm to the side. The snail shell fell to the ground, and the snail that Zhang Ming had spent so much effort to find was crushed. The drunkard stared at the crushed snails on the ground, and his face turned red. His veins popped, and he seemed to be even angrier. With nowhere to vent his anger, he flipped over the small table in the living room. The water bottle on the table almost hit Zhang Ming, but thankfully, the rag doll woman blocked it. The hot water splashed on the ground, and part of it landed on the drunkard. His whole body turned red, and he grabbed the rag doll woman's hair and pinned her to the ground. After the woman fell, her first reaction was to wave at Zhang Ming, telling him to hide inside the room. The drunkard dragged the woman by her legs, and the arm that was connected to the bottle kept falling. The boy stood in the messy living room. He had no idea what he had done wrong. The snails on the ground were crushed, and the rag doll mother was pinned to the ground. His shoulders were shaking from fear. He did not know who to turn to for help. He looked at his mother, who was in pain. He wanted to go and help the woman, but he was powerless. He did not even know how to speak. "Don't be afraid." Chen Ge patted Zhang Ming's shaking shoulders lightly. "Let me help you." Chen Ge kicked at the drunkard. When the drunkard separated from the rag doll woman, he swung the hammer at the drunkard's shoulder. Bang! The drunkard slammed into the door of the room. Chen Ge did not give the man the chance and continued to attack. "Zhang Ming, look closely." He is not invincible. He is just a weak coward. There is no need for you to be afraid of him. The drunkard's body was recovering quickly. His arms grew back to the furniture in the room, and his expression became more and more menacing. I will lure him into the room. Once the door opens, you need to escape. To buy more time for Zhongming and the ragdoll woman, Chen Ge could only knock the drunkard down again and again. Every time he was knocked down, the drunkard's appearance would become scarier. His body continued to expand. His back was pressed against the wall, and he slowly merged with the rest of the room. In Zhongming's memory, the words, home, and father, were closely linked, so this situation did not surprise Chen Ge at all. The only thing that worried him was that Zhongming and the ragdoll woman had not escaped from the room. Cracks appeared on the wall, and the ceiling started to crumble. The ground was shaking, and the light behind the door flickered several times before suddenly going off. The light disappeared, and a thick stench drifted out from the dim room. The cracks on the roof grew larger. The drunkard's body, which had grown several times larger, touched the ceiling, and at that moment, the roof of the room collapsed. The stench assaulted Chen Ge's nostrils, and the thing that had crushed the whole room had appeared. A hard shell with a spiral shape, a sticky body, and a giant blood-red snail was crawling on top of this home. Endless negative emotions were injected into the drunkard's body. The giant snail's slightly smaller tentacles cracked open a hole, and it was filled with innumerable teeth. The large body reached out from the shell, and the blood-red snail bit at Chen Ge. A snail. Why would such a scary thing appear in Zhongming's dream? Quote. Chen Ge protected Zhongming as they retreated. The whole world behind the door had changed after the snail appeared. Blood leaked out from the walls, and the apartment looked like it would collapse at any moment. Let's go upstairs and find that old granny. Chen Ge led Zhongming and the ragdoll woman up the stairs. The neighbors who looked like monsters also became crazed under the influence of the blood-red snail. Initially, this world only gave Chen Ge the feeling of absurdity. It was like a very small child holding a brush and drawing, but after the appearance of the blood-red snail, this world started to become bloody and cruel, and it became closer and closer to the real world behind the door. After the three arrived at the old lady's room, Chen Ge knocked heavily on the door. Granny, I'm here to take you and Zhongming away from here. I know the way to escape. Quote. The door opened, and the old lady stood at the door with the cane. She saw the crazy neighbors and the blood-red snail that was crawling toward them. Your lingering spirit is still there, and you should not stay here. Come with us. Chen Ge had already made his decision, and he took out the comic. The old lady hesitated. She opened her mouth to say something, but Chen Ge could not hear her at all. I'll take that as a yes. Chen Ge turned to shield the old lady and Zhongming behind him. He stared at the blood-red snail that was slowly crawling toward them. This snail is the culprit behind the collapse of Zhongming's whole family. It is also the embodiment of all the negative emotions and disasters in Zhongming's mind. If we can kill this thing, Zhongming might not be so confused anymore. Pressing the play button on the recorder, Chen Ge called softly, Shu Yin. The blood-red pattern spread out rapidly with Chen Ge as the center. The blood-red snail sensed the threat, and all the crazy neighbors came running toward it. 5 red specters are enough to destroy this incomplete scenario, so the extra red specters will be used to maintain the basic framework of this scenario. Flipping through the comic, more and more blood patterns appeared. They were incredibly aggressive, and they covered the whole scenario in a short amount of time. The blood-red snail had stopped moving. It could sense the threat, but Chen Ge's hands that were flipping through the comic did not stop. More and more blood patterns almost covered Zhongming's world behind the door. Finally, at a certain moment, the critical point was broken, and the heavy scent of blood rushed at them like a sea of blood. One after another, shadows started to appear around Chen Ge. They were all dressed in red. Without needing him to say anything, the red specters were like sharks that had smelled blood, and they leapt at the blood-red snail. With the cooperation of several red specters, the snail's sturdy shell was shattered. At that moment, Chen Ge saw something extremely scary. At the deepest part of the snail's shell, there was the face of a baby whose eyes were closed. The face was similar to the face that he had seen on the shadow in Liwan City. It was the face of the ghost fetus when he was still a baby. Ghost fetus. The baby's eyes slowly opened, and there was pure evil in his eyes. A shrill laugh echoed, and the body inside the shell exploded instantly. The baby's face dissolved into blood, and only a wooden toy was left on the ground. Looks like the ghost fetus did not possess Zhang Ming's body. Even though he had not found the ghost fetus, at least he had ruled out one possibility. Chen Ge walked to the snail's carcass and picked up the toy from the ground. He still had an impression of this toy. It was a gift from his father when he was very young, but one day, he suddenly could not find it anymore. Was it taken away by the shadow? After the snail exploded, the world behind Zhang Ming's door started to shake violently. The twisted neighbors slowly disappeared, and the foundation of this world was shaken. Chen Ge had the other red specters temporarily stabilize the shaking world. He walked to the old lady and Zhang Ming's side. It is time to say goodbye to this pain. I will bring you away from this place. Flipping through the comic, Chen Ge wanted to pull the old lady and Zhang Ming into it, but Zhang Ming held the rag doll woman's hand and refused to let go. The woman who lived in his memory gently pushed Zhang Ming away. She gently waved at Zhang Ming, and her body slowly became illusory before she finally disappeared. After we leave this place, I will bring you to find her in real life. She will miss you very much. Closing the comic, Chen Ge held Zhang Ming's hand and returned to the first floor with the accompaniment of several red specters. The scenario collapsed, and they opened the locked iron door. When Chen Ge stepped out from the door, Zhang Ming, who was lying in bed in real life, opened his eyes. He sat up in bed and saw Chen Ge, who was still in the posture of raising his leg. The door behind him crumbled completely. Chen Ge carried the backpack with one hand and looked at Zhang Ming quietly. Zhang Ming, who sat in bed, did not cry or make a fuss. He seemed to recognize Chen Ge. Just treat what happened just now as a dream, Yi Zichen said. After Chen Ge said that, he realized that Zhang Ming could not hear him. He took out a pen and paper and wrote down the word, "Mother." Be a good boy and go to sleep. Tomorrow, I will bring you to find her. To prevent Zhang Ming from being illiterate, Chen Ge gestured as he wrote. After a while, Zhang Ming finally understood, and for the first time, a happy smile appeared on his face. Have a good rest. Good night. Touching the boy's head, Chen Ge flipped through the comic and released the old lady. Granny, can you hear me now? The old lady's eyes were glued to Zhang Ming, and her body was almost transparent. There is a question that I have been curious about. Why would there be such a scary snail in the world behind Zhang Ming's door? Is he traumatized by the snail? Could it be that when he was young, he was tricked by someone else with a snail? Chen Ge had many hypotheses, but none of them made sense. That snail is not a real snail. There was heartache in the old lady's voice. Zhang Ming's mother was born deaf and mute. Since she was young, her family despised her. When she grew up, her family married her to Zhang Ming's father for some money. Then Zhang Ming was born. Even though he was not born deaf and mute, he had a hearing defect. The doctor suggested a cochlear implant, but even the cheapest cochlear implant costs tens of thousands, and the more expensive ones cost hundreds of thousands. The doctor said that the earlier the surgery, the better, but Zhang Ming's mother could not come up with the money, much less his father. Ever since Zhang Ming's father found out that Zhang Ming also had a hearing problem, his attitude toward the mother and son changed greatly. He even wanted to abandon Zhang Ming, but thankfully, Zhang Ming's mother stopped him every time. You've seen what happened next. Zhang Ming's mother learned water embroidery from me. She wanted to save money for Zhang Ming's cochlear implant surgery. His father liked to gamble and drink. He even stole the money that Zhang Ming's mother had saved, and in the end, he decided to rob her. Zhang Ming grew up in this kind of environment. He was too young to know what cochlear implant surgery was. Perhaps in his world, the snail represented the hope of hearing. He tried his best to find the snail because he wished to hear other people's voices, but at the same time, there was an undeniable reality. His family was crushed by that snail. Quote. After hearing the old lady, Chen Ge finally understood the world in the boy's eyes. There was a bloody truth in the absurdity. Granny, do you know where the boy's parents live? What do you plan to do? I plan to teach the boy's father a lesson, and I wish to help the boy's mother as well. Chen Ge took out his wallet from his pocket. If the circumstances allow it, I hope that Zhang Ming will be able to hear in the future. You wish to fund the boy's surgery. Why? Don't be fooled by my ordinary clothes. I'm actually an entrepreneur. Quote. Chen Ge pulled open the zipper of his backpack and shoved the hammer inside. Don't force yourself. Cochlear implant surgery is not a small amount for any normal family. The old lady smiled kindly. She did not seem to believe what Chen Ge said. Just from the way he dressed, Chen Ge did not look like an entrepreneur at all. An old backpack, normal clothes, and a lack of taste. The most valuable thing that he had on him was probably the hammer that was carved with blood patterns inside his backpack. Don't worry. Chen Ge flipped through the comic. Granny, follow me for now. If you want to meet Zhang Ming in the future, I'll bring you to him. Even though the boy has a hearing problem, he seems to be able to hear voices from another world. I can't guarantee that he will still have that ability after the cochlear implant surgery, so during the surgery, you'd better spend more time with him. Quote. Okay, thank you, young man. The old lady entered the comic. At the same time, the black phone in Chen Ge's pocket suddenly vibrated. Chen Ge took out the phone and swiped the screen. There were 2 unread messages. The 4-star trial mission, Ghost Fetus, has completed 1/9 of it. The Ghost Fetus, hearing is severely damaged. Lucky Red Spectre's favored, you do not have much time left. Lucky Red Spectre's favored, congratulations for accumulating 100 blessings from specters or lingering spirits. You have obtained the title of Votive Master. Votive Master, true salvation is not victory after a battle, but finding the strength to live in peace of the heart in the midst of suffering. When you have this title, helping a vengeful spirit or lingering spirit to fulfill their wishes will greatly increase their favorability towards you. At the same time, it can also eliminate part of their hostility. I've gained a new title. When did I receive so many blessings? Could it be the students from the School of the Afterlife in Nuyang High School? Titles were permanent, and they would continue to be useful. Sometimes, Chen Ge suspected that the supernatural incidents that kept happening to him might have something to do with the title of Spectre's favored. Putting the black phone away, Chen Ge told Zhang Ming to go to sleep while he exited the room. I haven't found the clay statuette with Zhang Ming. I guess it's with Zhang Ju. That thing is useful to Zhang Ya. I need to find a way to get it. After leaving Zhang Ming's house, Chen Ge took off his gloves and shoe covers. He ran out of the stairwell, avoided all the surveillance cameras, and retraced his steps. After jumping out of the residential area, Chen Ge turned back to look. The surveillance did not capture me, and there were no fingerprints or shoe prints. Even if Zhang Ming has spilled the beans, it does not matter. They will not be able to find any evidence. Taking out his phone, Chen Ge very arrogantly video called Zhang Ming, who had not yet returned home. The call went through, and in the video, Zhang Ming was driving his own car. His expression was terrible. Chen Ge, our relationship isn't good enough to have a video call in the middle of the night, right? Quote. I'm just outside your neighborhood. There are some things that I want to talk to you about. It's 1:00 in the morning, and you're waiting for me in my neighborhood. Have you lost your mind? Zhang Ming did not seem to be in a good mood. Those who are unjust are doomed. I wanted to tell you this morning that the altars inside your haunted house have attracted lingering spirits and lingering souls, and the first person they will harm is the person who set up the altars. Chen Ge said in a serious tone, actually, you have already been targeted. Something is hiding in your shadow and has followed you home. Stop trying to scare me. I'm just trying to save you. The video call ended, and Zhang Ming hung up impatiently. Looking at the black screen, Chen Ge did not panic at all. He stood at the entrance to the residential area to wait for Zhang Ming. There was one last loophole in his plan, and that was Tong Tong, who was still inside Zhang Ming's phone. Tong Tong has done a great job this time. I need to reward him. Chen Ge used his phone to create a new social media account, and he had a smile on his face. Half an hour later, Zhang Ming drove back to the residential area. Seeing him, Chen Ge grabbed his backpack and walked to the middle of the road, using his body to block the way. Do you want to die? Zhang Ming honked several times. He was very annoyed. That night, he had run from the city to eastern Zhejiang and then to western Zhejiang. He had done nothing, and for some reason, he had been scolded by Zhang Ju. Remember your current attitude. After some time, you will come and beg me. Chen Ge took out his phone. The altars inside your haunted house are very evil. They are not worshipping God. I'm warning you one last time, tear them down immediately, or else you and your family will be dragged into this mess. Get out of my way. Zhang Ming was really annoyed. Saving a life is better than building a 7-storied pagoda. I'll give you one last chance. Chen Ge opened the social media account that he had just registered. The ID was Votive Master. One night, if you see something strange happening at home, contact this person immediately. He can help you. Chen Ge's attitude was firm. Zhang Ming saw that he would not budge unless he added him as a friend, so he took out his phone helplessly. Are you happy now? Narrowing his eyes, Chen Ge saw Tong Tong return to his phone, and he nodded. God is watching. You're on your own now. Putting the phone away, Chen Ge carried the backpack with one hand and left in a hurry. He was afraid that if he moved too slowly, he might laugh out loud. Zhang Ming has been eliminated, and the ghost fetus power has been weakened. Tonight's harvest is not bad. Chen Ge walked down the quiet street for 10 minutes. He felt like he was the only person in the whole city. The feeling was very relaxing. After tonight, I only have 6 nights left. Looking at the time, that should be enough. After exiting Zhang Ming's world, Chen Ge was not that worried anymore. He reached into his backpack and took out the wooden toy that he had lost many years ago. I still have memories of this toy, and the shadow might have them as well. A picture appeared in his mind. When he was playing alone on the ground, the shadow was standing behind him, watching him. Could it be that he wanted to kill me a long time ago? Chen Ge put the toy away. He had a feeling that he would have a use for it in the future. He had just zipped up the backpack when Chen Ge's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Zhang Ming. How can I help you? The phone spirit had returned, so Chen Ge had nothing to worry about anymore. It's like this. I've thought about what you said, and I think it makes sense. Why did your attitude change so suddenly? When I got home, I asked my son. His reaction was strange. He used his hands to gesture for a long time before I understood what he meant. Zhang Ming lowered his voice. Someone has been to my home. I knew it. Look under your bed, closet, and bathroom door. Perhaps he hasn't left yet. Chen Ge's voice was serious, but the corner of his lips was curled up. Zhang Ming did not like to talk to Chen Ge, so he had no choice but to ask Chen Ge. I've looked around. There's no one inside the house, and nothing is missing. Nothing is missing, so it's not a thief. That's a bad sign because those things can take your life. Chen Ge paused like he was thinking seriously. Take my life. Zhang Ming seemed to be reminded of something, and he sank into silence. Sometimes, children can see things that adults can't. That's all I can say. If you really run into a problem that you can't solve, go find that votive master and beg him. Perhaps he might be able to point you in the right direction. Chen Ge hung up and hailed a cab to return to New Century Park. After entering the haunted house's underground scenario, Chen Ge found the few doctors. Does anyone know a reliable ear surgeon? Someone who can perform cochlear implant surgery. Quote. I have a student who is an expert in this field, but we haven't met for a long time. Dr. Wei had many students, and he gave Chen Ge another surprise. Why do you ask? Chen Ge told the old man everything that had happened to Zhang Ming. The drunkard father, the mother who was born deaf and mute, the old man sympathized with Zhang Ming's situation. My student should be working at a hospital in Shanghai. He's definitely not a problem. You can make an appointment with him. Sir, with our relationship, do we need an appointment? Why don't you give him a dream tonight? Chen Ge was afraid that Dr. Wei would disturb him, so he quickly added, the child's condition is indeed difficult, and he is being targeted by a demon god. Therefore, I plan to pay for his treatment with my own money, but you know how expensive cochlear implant surgery is. Our family isn't that rich. I'm already in my 20s, but I don't have a car or a house, and I have to sleep at a haunted house every day. I'm afraid people will laugh at me if this gets out. Chen Ge rubbed his red and swollen eyes. This month, I plan to save money to buy myself an electric scooter, but but who knew this sudden accident would make my already difficult life even worse. Okay, I'll help you, okay. Grandfather Wei rubbed his temples. It's a bit difficult to appear in a dream. You can contact him first and tell him my name. I sponsored the child's first 2 years of university, so he'll definitely help you. However, you can't let him suffer too much. Alright. After thanking Dr. Wei, Chen Ge returned to the staff break room and fell asleep. He had to seize the time to rest. There were more important things to do tomorrow. At 7:00 the next morning, Chen Ge woke up on time. After taking a cold shower, he changed into a decent set of clothes. When the employees came to work, Chen Ge put on makeup for everyone in the dressing room and held a simple morning meeting. After ensuring that all the scenarios were operating normally, Chen Ge grabbed his backpack and left New Century Park. After getting into the taxi, Chen Ge used the time to call Li Jung to ask about Jia Ming's situation. By now, Li Jung had gotten used to Chen Ge's call. It was like he was clocking in at work. He told Chen Ge that the arrest would happen that day, but he did not tell Chen Ge the exact location and time. Chen Ge did not make things difficult for Li Jung. Actually, he had a lot of confidence in the Zhujiang police. 10 minutes later, Chen Ge arrived at his destination. Before him was a small and old apartment building. This was the address that the old lady had given to Chen Ge, and it was also where Jiang Ming used to live. When he arrived, Chen Ge discovered something interesting. Fan Yu and his aunt used to live here, and Chen Ge had been there a few months ago. The old city has been on the verge of being demolished, but half of it has been demolished. I need to pay attention to this place. Entering the alley, there was a faded stench in the air. It was unclear whether it came from the sewers or one of the buildings. After walking for a while, Chen Ge arrived at the center of the old city. This was the apartment that Jiang Ming's family lived in. Entering the stairwell, the world behind the door overlapped with the real world. Chen Ge realized that the place had not changed much. The sound of an argument came from not far away. Chen Ge turned to look, and 2 women in their 30s were standing in front of Jiang Ming's house. They appeared to be workers from the community, and they were holding forms that were stamped with various seals. Big sister, what's going on? Chen Ge leaned over. He saw that the 2 women were wearing work ids. The one with the curly hair had the surname Mei, and the older one had the surname Li. We're from the neighborhood committee. The man in this house has been subjected to domestic violence many times, and the mistress is covered in wounds. We're preparing to take the mistress away so that she can receive treatment. Big sister Li blocked the door with her body to prevent the owner from closing it. Is the mistress home? Why doesn't she come out on her own? Quote. You have no idea, but she's so pitiful. She was born deaf and mute, and her brain seems to have been beaten silly by the man. We considered that the mistress does not have the ability to judge for herself, so we're prepared to take her away by force. Big sister Mei also began to help. Women were not inferior to men. The 2 big sisters blocked the door and refused to let the man in the room close the door. Looks like this is the place. Chen Ge reached out to grab the door and shoved it hard into the room. The door was pushed open completely, and Chen Ge followed the 2 women into the room. The smell of alcohol lingered in the air. There were empty wine bottles in the room, and there were glass shards that had not been cleaned up. The tables and chairs were toppled, and the sofa cushions were tossed to the ground. It appeared like something had just happened here. Zhang Dao, if you dare to stop us again, we'll call the police. The 2 women were very angry. Go and call the police. This is my family's business, so why are you interfering? The person who spoke was a bare-chested man. He had a shaved head, and he was slightly chubby. He was very tall and looked very muscular. Whatever you say is useless. Our neighborhood committee has already gotten the certificate, and we're here today to pick up the mistress. Pick up the mistress? Do you think she'll come with you? The man picked up the sofa cushions from the ground and tossed them onto the sofa. He held a half-empty bottle of beer and sat in the middle of the living room. The curtain of the kitchen was pulled back, and a woman in long sleeves, long pants, and an apron stood in the kitchen. She wanted to walk out, but she was hesitant. The 2 women walked to her side and wanted to drag her out, but the woman kept waving her hands like she was afraid. Big sister Li kept comforting her, and the woman's mental state improved a little. They had just walked to the middle of the living room when the man suddenly slammed the bottle of beer on the table. What if your son comes back after you leave? Don't you want to see him anymore? The man knew that the woman could not hear him. He tossed a clean backpack on the woman and glared at her. I can send him away, but I can also bring him back. See what you can do. Chen Ge could not take it anymore. He walked to the middle of the living room, picked up the backpack, and handed it to the woman. You guys take her out first. I'll talk to this guy. You. The two women thought that Chen Ge was just being kind, so they did not think much of it. The man has a violent tendency. Be careful. Okay. Chen Ge nodded. Seeing that Zhang Ming's mother still did not want to leave, he knew that she was worried about Zhang Ming. He took out the letter that he had prepared from his pocket. Take a look at this. The letter was written by Chen Ge in the taxi. The main idea was that he was going to help Zhang Ming with the cochlear implant surgery. When Zhang Ming's mother saw the content of the letter, her tears fell instantly. She wanted to thank Chen Ge, but she was stopped by Chen Ge. You guys can leave for now. After the three of them left, Chen Ge closed the door. Where did you come from? What did you write in the letter that you showed her? The man held the bottle, but he did not dare to touch it. Nothing much. I just want her to divorce you and leave you as soon as possible. After Chen Ge said that, the man's expression changed instantly, and anger surged out of him. Divorce is impossible. Get the F***ck out of here now. Quote. Don't panic. Chen Ge took out a bank card from his wallet. I have 150,000 in this card. You want me to divorce her with 150,000? If you really like her that much, 150,000 is not enough. The man's eyes stared closely at the bank card in Chen Ge's hand. Looks like you really have never treated them as family. Actually, you've misunderstood. This 150,000 is for Zhang Ming's cochlear implant surgery. It has nothing to do with you. Chen Ge took the bank card back and looked into Zhang Dao's greedy eyes. Are you thinking about how to get the money for Zhang Ming's treatment? Since Chen Ge had seen through his thoughts, the man did not argue and took a swig of the wine. Do you know, I was giving you one last chance. If you had shown even a little bit of love for Zhang Ming and your wife, what happened next would not have happened. Chen Ge pressed the play button on the recorder and then took out the red high heels. Blood flooded the room. With the cooperation of Shu Yin and the red high heels, they stuffed a cluster of blood vessels that they had extracted from the world behind Zhang Ming's door into Zhang Dao's brain. The blood vessels contained Zhang Ming's helplessness and fear. They contained various negative emotions, and they were combined with the red high heels' curse. Zhang Dao, you will experience your child's pain. The man who sat on the sofa covered his ears like he had lost his mind. It felt like many people were whispering into his ears. Looking at Zhang Dao's twisted face, Chen Ge did not feel any sympathy for him. Zhang Dao was experiencing the pain that Zhang Ming had gone through. After you atone for your sins, perhaps the curse will disappear. Chen Ge took back Shu Yin and the red high heels and shook his head lightly. I don't have many days left to live, but I'm still here helping others. Now that I think about it, I sure am a noble person. The man held his head and screamed. Chen Ge turned to push open the door. Quick, come in and take a look. What happened to this guy? The two ladies looked into the room. The muscular Zhang Dao was rolling on the ground with both of his hands over his ears. He was going to hit me with the bottle when he suddenly became like this. It gave me quite a fright. Chen Ge moved to stand behind the two ladies. You know that I've only been here for a few minutes. Do you think he's trying to blackmail me? With this guy's character, he's capable of anything. But that's fine, we can be your witnesses. We will not disappoint those who do what is right. Big Sister Li looked down on Zhang Dao. She hated him from the bottom of her heart. The two ladies watched from the side. This was the first time that they had seen something like this. Why don't we call an ambulance? It's not a good idea to keep him rolling on the ground. Let's wait for the doctor to come. Then everything will be fine, Chen Ge suggested. You're still too kind. Just leave this kind of person alone. Let him suffer a little longer. Big Sister Mei had a soft heart. After a while, she still called the ambulance. The ambulance took Zhang Dao away. Zhang Ming's mother held the letter and walked to Chen Ge. Her hands kept gesturing like she was trying to explain something. Don't worry. The woman could not hear Chen Ge, so he pulled on the lady next to him. Sister Li, actually, I've known about this for a long time. Can we find a place to talk? Sure. The two ladies led Chen Ge and Zhongming's mother back to the neighborhood committee. They found a pen and paper and placed them on the table. Don't worry, let me help you remember. Chen Ge picked up the pen and started to write on the paper. This was the only way that the two could communicate. I know you know how to embroider, and you can rely on this to survive on your own. You can even save some money. Do you remember who you learned how to do this? Seeing the words on the paper, Zhongming's mother was shocked. She picked up the pen but did not know what to write. You should remember the old lady who lived on the second floor of the apartment. I am her family. Before the old lady passed away, she was most worried about Zhongming. She loved that little boy very much. Everything that Chen Ge had written was the truth. Now that the old lady had been sucked into the comic and would live inside the haunted house, naturally, she was also Chen Ge's family. At the mention of the old lady, Zhongming's mother became emotional again. This was the second time she had cried after seeing Chen Ge. The bad times are over. You will live happily with Zhongming in the future. Chen Ge then looked at the two ladies. The earlier the cochlear implant surgery, the better. I've prepared 150,000, and I'll contact the doctor as soon as possible, but I have a lot of things to do, so I might need the community's help in the future. She doesn't need that much money. The community and women's union already know about her family's situation, so they will subsidize part of it. Well, no matter what, everyone hopes that they will get better and better. Chen Ge had no idea how much money he had on his card. He had not calculated the income of the haunted house for the past few months, but it would not be less than 200,000. The ghost fetus mission would end in a few days. If everything went smoothly, he would earn more money, but if something went wrong, no matter how much money he had on his card, it would be pointless. Chen Ge was not a stingy person. He just wanted to spend all his money where it mattered. Please wait for a moment. Chen Ge took out his phone and called a hospital in Shanghai. After explaining the situation, he booked an appointment with the doctor recommended by Wei Jukan. The doctor's name was Fang Zhiming. It took him some effort to find Dr. Fang's number. Chen Ge sat at the neighborhood committee and called several times, but no one answered. Just as he was about to give up, the call was suddenly connected. Is this Dr. Fang? The other side of the phone was very quiet. There was no sound. After a long time, a middle-aged man's voice came through. I'm sorry, but I am not accepting appointments for now. It was Wei Jukan who told me to find you. Chen Ge used Dr. Wei's name directly, using Dr. Wei's name. Who? When you were studying at Zhejiang Medical University. I'm asking who you are. My teacher passed away many years ago. That day, I personally sent him off. You'd better not joke about something like that. Quote. Dr. Fang was angered, but from that, it was clear that he respected Wei Jukan. Actually, Dr. Wei is my family. He admires you and often mentions you. Chen Ge told him things that only Dr. Wei and Fang Zhiming knew, and only then did the man believe Chen Ge. I understand the general situation now, but temporarily, I am unable to perform the surgery for the child. Fang Zhiming's voice sounded tired. Recently, my mind has been wandering, and there was a medical accident not too long ago. Currently, I do not have the ability to perform surgery. I will need some time to recuperate. Did something happen to you? Chen Ge sensed that Fang Zhiming's mood was unusually low, and even his voice sounded weak. Actually, it's nothing. When the hospital's storeroom was renovated, I found a letter in the old storeroom. After opening it, it said that I should go to an abandoned hospital at midnight, and if I refused, I would have to face the consequences. Oh well, I guess I need to tell you this anyway. Quote. Don't be like that. Perhaps I can give you some good advice. Even if I can't help you, it's good to have someone to talk to. Chen Ge's interest was piqued. That letter was probably a prank from one of the patients, so I did not think too much about it. But then, I kept having nightmares about a man with a big smile on his face. Fang Zhiming sighed. The man was standing under my house, at the same spot, staring at my window. A man with a big smile on his face. The image of a non-smiling man appeared in Chen Ge's mind. Initially, I thought I was under too much pressure, but one day, I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw the curtain fluttering in the wind, and I wanted to close the window. But when I walked to the window, I saw a man with a big smile on his face. It was exactly like the man in my dream. Could it be that some kind of pervert has his eyes on you? I don't know. The man only appeared once, and he never showed up again. However, my work and life have been completely affected, and I keep thinking about it. Fang Zhiming felt bad. You are my teacher's family, but I cannot perform surgery on you in my current condition. However, I can recommend another doctor to you. Bring the child over as soon as possible. The earlier the cochlear implantation is done, the better it will be for the child. Dr. Fang, I will send the child to you as soon as possible. Other than that, I have encountered the situation that you mentioned earlier. Chen Ge lowered his voice. Some things cannot be said openly. Trust me this once, and I will recommend someone to you. He is Dr. Wei's good friend. If you feel like you can't take it anymore, go and contact him. Quote. Teacher's friend. You have to be careful when you communicate with him. Do not hide anything from him. Only by telling him everything will he be able to help you. Chen Ge sent his other account to Fang Zhiming. I don't know the man's real name, but Dr. Wei calls him votive master. If Chen Ge asked him about certain things, Fang Zhiming might not tell him the truth due to various reasons or hide the details, but if the person he was talking to was Dr. Wei's friend, the situation might change. The person Fang Zhiming truly respected was Dr. Wei. When he was cornered, he would definitely choose someone that even Dr. Wei trusted. From Chen Ge's perspective, Fang Zhiming might be related to the cursed hospital. The non-smiler's appearance was a sign. However, he did not have the power and time to help the man, so this was the only way. Chen Ge gave Fang Zhiming his other social media account, and Fang Zhiming introduced another doctor to Chen Ge and gave Chen Ge his contact. After hanging up, Chen Ge turned to Zhongming's mother and explained the current situation. Zhongming's mother wrote many words on the paper. Other than expressing her gratitude, she also told Chen Ge that she had been secretly saving up money. In total, she had more than 30,000. She planned to use all of it to pay for Zhongming's surgery. If it was not enough, she would ask Chen Ge to pay for it first, but she would definitely return it in the future. You need to take care of Zhongming, and there are many things that you need to spend money on. Let's not argue about this anymore. Chen Ge knew that Zhongju would not let the boy go, and they would not perform cochlear implant surgery on Zhongming. Once Zhongming recovered his hearing, it might disrupt the ghost fetus plan, so they would have to stop him. Chen Ge did not plan to get involved in this. If Zhongju refused, the police and the Women's Federation would come to help. In 7 days, we will go to Xinhai together. If you can't reach me by then, go directly to New Century Park's haunted house. Someone will give you the money. Chen Ge had already planned everything out. He would first deal with the ghost fetus and then focus on dealing with the cursed hospital. Of course, the premise was that he could deal with the ghost fetus and not be dealt with by the ghost fetus. There are traces of the cursed hospital everywhere. I feel like even if I don't go to them, they will come to me. After all, I have received an invitation from the cursed game. After dealing with the matters here, Chen Ge left a contact number and left. I'll go to Fang Yu's house at night and see if the door will appear after she falls asleep. If everything goes well, now we can eliminate 3 people and only have 6 children left. 6 nights, 6 children, Chen Ge was no longer so nervous. Perhaps this had something to do with his own personality. After the initial panic period, he would become abnormally calm. Walking down the dirty alley, Chen Ge took out his phone to look through his contacts and found Wu Sheng's father's number. Ever since the teacher at Peiji School gave Chen Ge this number, he hadn't been able to get through. The phone rang for a long time. Just as Chen Ge was about to hang up, the call was suddenly connected. Hello, who is this? The phone kept ringing. It sounded like Wu Sheng's father was on the street, and there was a commotion around him. My name is Chen Ge. My relative's child's situation is similar to your son's. We also want to send our child to your son's school, but the tuition is too expensive, so I want to consult you. Okay. I'm at work. I'll meet you at the entrance of Peiji School at 5 p.m. The man's voice was hoarse, and it was very distinctive. Thank you, comma. At 5 p.m., Peiji School was dismissed. The children walked out of the school with the accompaniment of the teacher. Not long after that, Chen Ge saw Wu Sheng. Wu Sheng, who had never been interested in anything, kept turning his head to look around. There was anxiety on his face like he was looking for someone. Don't wander around. Your father will be here soon. Before the teacher finished, a man's voice came from afar. Wu Sheng. Different from the other parents who drove their own cars or rode their e-bikes, this man was riding a rather old bicycle. He had a bag slung over his shoulder, and his hair was kept in a short ponytail. His beard was unshaven, but it did not look unkempt at all. If anything, he gave off a strange sense of maturity. Son, I'm here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Quote. He was riding an old bicycle with peeling paint, but the man was very confident. He rode the bicycle like it was his own car. Seeing the man approach, the anxiety in Wu Sheng's eyes lessened, and he returned to his normal self. Teacher, did my son improve today? Yes, he did. Be careful on the road. After completing the task, the teacher turned back to the school. Not bad. Even the teacher said that you've improved. Today, let's celebrate. Let's start with 2 dishes. The man picked up Wu Sheng with one arm and placed him at the back of the bicycle. Then, he looked around. Wait for me. I have an appointment with a friend today. He took out his phone and was about to make a call when Chen Ge walked over. You're Wu Sheng's father, right? As he got closer, Chen Ge realized that even though the man before him was a bit unkempt, he had a good presence. He was the type of man who was handsome. Chen Ge. Yes, that's me. I have something that I need to ask you. The road here is too congested. We can't block the road. Let's talk as we walk. The handsome man pushed the bicycle forward. Chen Ge also pushed a public bicycle. If they walked, they would waste too much time, and many things would be said on the way. Chen Ge's real goal was to go to Wu Sheng's home and stay until midnight. Brother, how should I address you? My name is Wu Jinpeng, the golden rock from the great rock spreading its wings. You can call me Brother Peng. The man had a good personality, and he was friendly. He and Wu Sheng were polar opposites. Earlier, you said that your child's condition is similar to my Wu Sheng's. Where is he now? Is it a boy or a girl? Why don't you let the 2 of them play together? Perhaps they will have a common language. Quote. Brother Peng, my child's condition is much worse than Wu Sheng's. He not only refuses to speak, he likes to draw pictures that scare adults. Chen Ge had a bitter expression. Brother, let me tell you, Wu Sheng's condition was even worse when he was young. He couldn't speak, and he would have nightmares at night. He would smash things everywhere like he was possessed. Possessed? Chen Ge's expression was one of shock. My relative's child has the same condition. This is such a coincidence. Quote. What? It's true. Quote. Of course, it's very serious. That's why I want to transfer him here. Even though the tuition is more expensive, I think the teachers are very professional, and the facilities are better than other places. Chen Ge sighed. My family's financial situation is not that good, but for the sake of the child, it's okay for the adults to suffer. Brother, it's not easy for you. Wu Jinpeng looked at Chen Ge, and he felt like they were in the same boat. Don't overthink it. The child will get better in the future. Brother Peng, I really have many things to ask you. If it's convenient, can we go to your home and have a good chat? Quote. Of course. No problem. Quote. Wu Jinpeng agreed immediately. The 3 rode the bicycle to a small apartment in western Zhejiang. The apartment building that Wu Jinpeng lived in was very dilapidated. It was at least 30 years old. The family of 3 squeezed into a small room of 20 square meters. The bathroom was next to the kitchen, and the room was separated by a curtain. It's a little crowded. Don't mind me. I was planning to move to a bigger house next month. As soon as Wu Jinpeng opened the door, a big yellow dog ran over while wagging its tail. It was friendly to Wu Jinpeng and Wu Sheng, but it bared its teeth when it saw Chen Ge. Don't mind him. Da Huang is a stray dog and has been chased away by many people, so he's not that friendly to strangers. But after you get to know him better, you'll realize that Da Huang is a very docile dog. Wu Jinpeng scratched Da Huang's head and invited Chen Ge into the house. The cement floor was not tiled, and there were many things piled up. However, they were all neatly arranged. Although it was crowded, it did not give people a dirty feeling. Xiao Kun, there are guests. Go and pour 2 cups of tea. Wu Jinpeng shouted towards the inside of the house. A moment later, the curtain was pulled open, and a young man who looked like a fool walked out from behind the curtain with an electric fan in his arms. Fan. Got it. Go and pour tea for the guests. I'll fix the fan. Wu Jinpeng wanted to take the fan from the young man's arms, but the young man dodged to the side and hugged the broken fan tightly. Fan. Brat, I'll buy you a new fan after I get my salary. Wu Jinpeng looked at Chen Ge with some embarrassment. This is my younger brother. He had an accident when he was young and his head was injured. You see, he looks very stubborn, but he's actually very smart. In primary school, my brother's grades were very good, and he never fell out of the top 10. Quote. His son didn't know how to speak and had an eccentric personality. His younger brother had suffered a head injury and was slow-witted. Life was difficult for Wu Jinpeng, but Wu Jinpeng was still proud of his family. Chen Ge admired this kind of person. Brother Peng, I ordered some dishes on the way here. Let's talk while we eat. I have a lot of questions to ask you. Look at what you've done. If you come to my house, I'll be the one to invite you. I'm the one who came to trouble you. This meal has to be on me. The takeaway arrived quickly. In addition to the food, Chen Ge also ordered a few bottles of wine. The whole family sat on a cushion in the middle of the room. Although it was simple, it was exceptionally warm. It seemed like Wu Sheng and Wu Jinpeng's brother had not eaten so much food in a long time. The two of them wolfed down the food. Wu Jinpeng's eyes softened when he saw them eating so happily. He picked up the wine glass on the table and took a big gulp. Brother Peng, is the photo on the cabinet a family photo of your family? Chen Ge pointed at the photo frame on the wardrobe. There was a group photo of 3 people inside. The young Wu Jinpeng stood in the middle, with his younger brother on his left and a pregnant woman on his right. Yes, that woman is Wu Sheng's mother. She left after giving birth to Wu Sheng, but she is a very good woman. It is my fault for not being able to keep her. Wu Jinpeng smiled and drank another glass of wine. Brother, thank you for spending so much money today. If you have any questions, just ask. I will tell you everything I know. Is this how you use the idiom? Brother Peng, since you are so straightforward, I will not hide it from you. Chen Ge clinked glasses with Wu Jinpeng and lowered his voice. Actually, my relative's child is different from normal children. He has some unique symptoms. I have been holding these words in my heart for a long time, but I don't know how to say them. Take your time. There is no need to rush. You might not believe me even if I tell you. Chen Ge sidled up to Wu Jinpeng. One time, I went to bed late and accidentally saw a door standing next to the child's bed. When he said that, Chen Ge kept his eyes on Wu Jinpeng. He clearly saw that after Wu Jinpeng heard him say that, he was stunned. I was scared out of my wits. Why would a door appear out of nowhere in the room? Chen Ge's brows creased together like he was still afraid when he thought about it. I wanted to go over, but before I could get close, the child woke up. After he woke up, the door disappeared. Initially, I thought I was hallucinating, but the next night, the door reappeared. Quote. Have you entered the door before? Wu Jinpeng's subconscious question confirmed Chen Ge's suspicion that the man knew about the existence of the door. Normally, when someone heard something so strange, they would first question the authenticity of the door. Even if they did not question it, the question would be related to the door and not directly ask whether one had entered the door or not. Wu Jinpeng's question proved that he not only knew about the existence of the door, he might have entered it before. The two men held the glasses and stared at each other for a long time. Chen Ge took a swig to calm himself down and then shook his head. I have not entered it before. That's good. Wu Jinpeng sighed in relief. He picked up the glass, but before his lips touched the wine, he heard Chen Ge's voice. What about you? The arm that held the glass froze in midair. Wu Jinpeng reacted after a long time. He stood up and closed the door and window. Brother, let's talk over here. Wu Jinpeng waved at Chen Ge. They pulled back the curtain and walked to the other side of the room. There was a single bed there, and there was a mat on the floor. Normally, Wu Sheng sleeps on the bed, and my brother Wu Kun and I sleep in the living room. There is a curtain between us. It started a few days ago, and Wu Sheng kept turning at night like he could not sleep well. Initially, I did not think too much of it, but one night, at midnight, Wu Sheng started to turn again. I turned to look, and I saw a black shadow behind the curtain. Quote. Wu Jinpeng waved his hands, and he was very agitated. Just like in the movies, I sneaked over, and when I pulled back the curtain, I saw Wu Sheng looking at me with his eyes open. I squatted there for several days before I finally saw the shadow's real face. Just like you said, it was a door that stood in the dark. Once the light is turned on or Wu Sheng wakes up, the door will disappear. Anyone who has a door like that in their home would be afraid. The day before yesterday, I prepared to enter the door to take a look, but I couldn't push it open. That was so frustrating. Wu Jinpeng sat on the bed. I didn't dare tell anyone about this, afraid that they would think I'm not normal. You can't open it alone. How about the two of us try it together tonight? Chen Ge's frown slowly relaxed. Coincidentally, my family is in the same situation. How about we help each other out? That's possible, but I'm afraid that I'll drag you down with me. It's fine. The two of us can take care of each other. It's better than facing danger alone. Brother, you're such a nice person. I don't know what to say. It's my duty. It was dangerous behind the door. Chen Ge had agreed to go with Wu Jinpeng, but the moment they entered the door, he would stop Wu Jinpeng and go in alone. Let's finish our meal and make our move tonight. After solving one problem, Chen Ge admired Wu Jinpeng more and more. He even considered if the man was in trouble, he could come work at his haunted house. It was the same door, but in Chen Ge and Wu Jinpeng's eyes, it had a different meaning. Wu Jinpeng had drunk quite a lot, and he was drunk. He slowly removed the armor that he was wearing. There was tiredness in his aged eyes. He normally hid it well and never showed it before his family. Wu Sheng, go to sleep. I still need to drive you to school tomorrow morning. Wu Jinpeng carried Wu Sheng to bed. Good night, kid. After taking care of the young, he still had to take care of the older one. He pulled the curtain and sat down next to his brother. Kun stop playing with the fan. If you're hot, I'll fan you. Fan. Wu Kun raised the fan with both hands and ran around the room, refusing to let Wu Jinpeng have it. Slow down, don't disturb the neighbors. Wu Jinpeng sighed and sat down at the table. I'm sorry, my brother is quite a rowdy person. Brother Peng, I fixed the broken fan at my workplace. How about I help you take a look? When Chen Ge was running the haunted house alone, he had learned many things, including installing surveillance cameras and various circuits. I purposely didn't fix it for him. Wu Jinpeng took another sip. Look at my brother's left hand. He once reached his hand into the fan. Got it. My biggest wish is for Wu Sheng to live like a normal child. My second wish is to buy an air conditioner. My brother hasn't experienced it before. If he knew how good an air conditioner is, he would definitely abandon the fan. The room was narrow. Wu Jinpeng leaned against the wall. He held the wine glass in one hand and the stray dog's head with the other. Brother Peng, I can hear that you're someone with a story. There's still some time before midnight. Can you tell me about your past? Chen Ge wanted Wu Jinpeng to work at his haunted house, so he needed to know more about Wu Jinpeng. What story? My life is filled with accidents. Wu Jinpeng was drunk. Brother, guess what's the most expensive item in my house? How would I know? There was not even a television in the room. Chen Ge looked around, and only the broken fan in Wu Jinpeng's brother's hand was valuable. Let me show you. Wu Jinpeng opened the wooden box in the corner. There was a guitar inside. This is not a practice guitar. It's very expensive. You can play the guitar. Chen Ge labeled Wu Jinpeng as a multi-talented man. His evaluation of this handsome uncle rose to another level. I used to study music and was a street singer for a long time. It was then that I met Wu Sheng's mother. Wu Jinpeng picked up the guitar, but probably afraid that it would disturb the neighbors, he did not touch the strings. Instead, he gestured in the air. Wu Sheng's mother is a fan of mine. She's 8 years younger than me, and she's a very nice person, so even if she left, I don't blame her. There was wine on the table, a stray dog lying next to him, and a broken guitar in his arms. The two men sat in the crowded rental house, talking about the past and life. Are you still a vagabond singer? I stopped doing that a long time ago. In the past, my dream was to write my own songs. Even if I couldn't become a singer, I wanted to work in a music industry. Unfortunately, due to hunger, I swallowed my dream in one gulp. Wu Jinpeng closed his eyes, and his fingers played in the air. I was too rebellious in the past. I always thought my persistence was right. There was a time when I thought the name my parents gave me was too lame, so I secretly changed it. My father was so angry that he couldn't sleep for 3 days. Opening his eyes, Wu Jinpeng took another glass of wine. Thinking about the old man, I want to laugh, but I won't be able to see him anymore. Uncle. The year Wu Sheng was born, the old couple went to Shanghai for treatment, and they got into a car accident. Wu Jinpeng picked up the glass and downed the wine. Actually, I've suspected it wasn't a car accident. They probably didn't want to drag me down because they couldn't be cured. The room became quiet. Wu Kun was tired from playing. He hugged the fan and leaned against the corner. So, you're the only one taking care of the family now. Chen Ge thought about Wu Jinpeng's hard life. He had to take care of his retarded brother and earn money for Wu Sheng's tuition. He was the pillar of the family. Yes, actually, you'll get used to it. Wu Jinpeng put down the guitar. Someone once told me that life is about being born, but I think that's too pessimistic. We can't guarantee what kind of life we have, but the attitude we use to live it depends on us. I often tell Wu Sheng how beautiful the world is because I hope that he can grow up healthy and one day see those beautiful things for himself. Quote. Brother Peng, you're such a good educator. Chen Ge raised his glass and clinked it with Wu Jinpeng's. I also think I'm good at educating children, but the teachers at Peiji Academy keep nagging me, telling me not to let the child fantasize and to focus on learning life skills. Wu Jinpeng's tone sounded like he was complaining, and it amused Chen Ge. He had a good chat with Wu Jinpeng. Actually, when Chen Ge first met Wu Jinpeng, he had a feeling that this person was special. The pain and despair in life did not knock him down. If anything, it carved his soul into a crystal-clear crystal. This was something that Chen Ge did not expect, and the ghost fetus probably did not expect as well. Chen Ge had no idea what the ghost fetus criteria for choosing his child was, but most of the children had one similarity: they were flawed in some way, and they were deeply depressed. Based on Zhang Ming's situation, the more pain and despair a child felt, the scarier the world behind the door would be, and the more compatible they would be with the ghost fetus. From this perspective, the chance of Wu Sheng being possessed by the ghost fetus was not high. His father was too good. The two chatted for a while. When it was almost 11 p.m., they cleared away the cutlery, switched off the lights, and sat down next to the curtain. At midnight, a shadow could be seen behind the curtain. Chen Ge made a gesture at Wu Jinpeng. He had many red specters in his backpack. Once he got close, the door would shake violently to wake Wu Sheng, and the door would close naturally. Chen Ge gripped the backpack tightly. When Wu Jinpeng moved forward, he suddenly picked up his pace and pushed open the door. The lock shook. When Wu Jinpeng recovered, Chen Ge had already disappeared with the door. What the f***ck? Brother. Where are you? Quote. Comma. Opening his eyes, Chen Ge was standing in a dark alley. A light blood fog floated in the air, and he could hear the sound of teeth grinding. This is the world behind Wu Sheng's door. How come it looks like an old city? Quote. Chen Ge had just returned from the old city that day. The more he looked at it, the more he felt like it. Wu Sheng used to live in the old city. Didn't they move from western Zhejiang to eastern Zhejiang? Quote. Chen Ge did not hurry to move forward. Instead, he turned back to look and realized that there was a large steel door behind him. The door blocked the entrance of the alley. The door behind me is the same as the door behind Zhang Ming's door. He noticed a detail. I went to Zhang Ming's previous apartment to take a look. The building didn't have this kind of iron door, so the iron door doesn't belong to Zhang Ming's memory. Now that I've entered Wu Sheng's world, this iron door has appeared behind me. Quote. Upon closer inspection, Chen Ge did not notice anything strange about this iron door. The iron door that represents the entrance and exit should have nothing to do with the infected children. It is probably the ghost fetus' own memory. With that in mind, Chen Ge studied the iron door behind him more closely. There were no words or symbols on it, and when he got closer, he could smell a very light scent of blood and disinfectant. The world behind the door is woven from memory. This door carries the scent of blood and disinfectant in someone's memory. Could the owner of the memory have been imprisoned at a hospital? But there shouldn't be a black iron door like this in a hospital. Quote. For now, Chen Ge had only entered the two children's worlds, so there were many things that he could not confirm. He stared at the iron door for a long time before finally moving his gaze away. I need to find Wu Sheng behind the door first. This world behind the door is different from what I imagined before I entered it. Chen Ge chatted with Wu Jinpeng for a long time. This father was like a protective umbrella, standing before Wu Sheng. Theoretically speaking, Wu Sheng's world should not be that dark, but after Chen Ge entered it, he realized that this world was still very strange. The streets were forever shrouded in darkness, and many scary noises kept coming from the corners. Looks like the ghost fetus has done something. That madman will not allow the child that he has chosen to be happy. The things he is most jealous of are love and warmth. Chen Ge communicated with the pen spirit and Shu Yin. They could not appear for the time being. This world was rejecting them. What concerned Chen Ge more was that compared to Zhang Ming's world, Wu Sheng's world seemed to be more reluctant to let Shu Yin and the others enter. This time, the resistance that the haunted house workers faced was even greater. I need to buy them some time. Chen Ge did not think that the ghost fetus would hide in this world, but there was nothing wrong with being careful. If the ghost fetus decided to do the exact opposite, then he might lose his life because of it. The doors next to the children's beds all look rather surreal. They are so different from a real blood door. I suspect that only one of the 9 doors is a real door, and the other 8 are purposely used by the ghost fetus to confuse others. Taking out the hammer, Chen Ge walked down the street. The world behind Wu Sheng's door was much bigger than Zhang Ming's world. It seemed to encompass the whole street. After taking a few steps, Chen Ge frowned. The noise around him grew louder. It was like flying insects trying to crawl into his ears. It was not a good feeling. Sometimes, being sensitive to the 5 senses is not a good thing. Chen Ge held his breath and used yin-yang vision. The darkness did not affect him that much. I can't even see a shadow, so where is the noise coming from? He did not rush down the street. The terrain was complicated. If he was not careful, he might get lost, and it would be difficult for him to escape. In any case, before Shu Yin and the rest showed up, Chen Ge's goal was to survive. Pushing open the door of a building, Chen Ge realized that the noise around him had gotten louder, and one of the cries became clearer. The cries are coming from here. Chen Ge followed the sound and looked into the building. The houses in the old city were not big, and they usually only had 2 or 3 rooms. He soon found the source of the sound. There was a girl washing her hair in the bathroom. Her back was facing Chen Ge, and she looked about 13. She's crying while washing her hair. The girl filled a basin with water and placed it at the edge of the sink. Her hair was soaked in the water, and the sound of water mixed with the crying, sending chills down Chen Ge's spine. This was the first person that Chen Ge had encountered behind Wu Sheng's door. For safety's sake, Chen Ge gripped the hammer and slowly approached. There's only this girl in the room, so there's no need to worry about being surrounded. This is a good chance for us to get to know each other better. Chen Ge moved very lightly, but even so, he was still discovered when he was halfway there. The girl stopped washing her hair. Her hands were in the middle of her hair, and her whole body froze next to the sink. Her black hair was pulled back, and a dark eyeball peeked out from the gap between the hair. The girl turned to look at Chen Ge, and the head in the basin slowly lifted up. The hair that was soaking in the basin was clotted with blood clots. Only then did Chen Ge realize that the basin was not filled with water but blackish red blood that was about to coagulate. The blood slid down the hair and landed on her clothes, and the clean pink pajamas were wet. In Zhang Ming's twisted world, there was no sign of blood. What is going on behind Wu Sheng's door? Why is she so cruel? Quote. The girl's face was completely exposed. Her eyes were beautiful, and her nose was small and cute. In fact, it was so cute that one would have the urge to pinch it. Moving down was her mouth. The shape of the girl's lips was beautiful, but the only flaw was that her lips were sewn together by black thread. Chen Ge was certain that the crying came from the girl, but from the look of it, it did not look like she was crying at all. "Can you hear me?" From the girl's appearance, it was impossible to tell what had happened to her and why she would appear behind the door in this form. Chen Ge wanted to communicate with her, but the girl's reaction was very strange. The girl reached into the basin with her fair hands and took out a dirty cat. Then, like wringing a towel, she grabbed the cat's head with one hand and the cat's body with the other. She twisted it as hard as she could. Blood leaked out from the cat's body. After wringing it dry, the girl picked up the dirty cat and started to wipe her blood-soaked hair. After drying her hair, the girl tossed the deformed cat back into the basin and turned to look at Chen Ge. She stared at Chen Ge's mouth and reached into her pocket to take out a very long needle and a thick black thread. What is she doing? The girl stared at Chen Ge's mouth. With the needle in one hand and the thread in the other, she walked toward Chen Ge. She moved faster and faster until she leapt at Chen Ge. The needle in her hand was aimed at Chen Ge's mouth like she was trying to sew up Chen Ge's lips. "You were the one who started it." Chen Ge was already prepared. He swung the hammer at the girl. A part of the girl's shoulder caved in, but her movement was not affected at all. For the sake of self-preservation, Chen Ge could only keep dodging while swinging the hammer. After 9 consecutive swings, the girl finally lost the ability to move. She crawled on the ground, trying to grab the needle and thread. "I have no quarrel with this girl, so why would she suddenly attack me and try to sew up my mouth?" Chen Ge put down the hammer. He looked at the girl on the ground and then at the deformed cat in the basin, and a possibility suddenly occurred to him. This girl was abusing the cat, and Wu Sheng accidentally saw it, so she wanted to sew up Wu Sheng's mouth to have him keep the secret for her. Chen Ge had no idea what had happened in real life. He could only speculate based on this twisted nightmare. A cute and clean girl using a basin of blood to wash her hair. Chen Ge really did not expect to see something like that in Wu Sheng's world behind the door. Looks like even though Wu Jinpeng has been protecting Wu Sheng, the child has still seen many bad things. The pressure that life has given them is not just a few words from Wu Jinpeng. The girl's body was slowly recovering. Chen Ge knew that it would be difficult to kill her. He took away the girl's needle and thread and closed the door. He even used something to block the door from the outside. He did not know whether that would work or not, but he tried his best. After exiting the first room, Chen Ge did not dare underestimate Wu Sheng's world behind the door anymore. The child had been through more than Zhongming. The world in his eyes was bigger and more complicated. Chen Ge felt like every building on this street was hiding a secret. If he entered the building, he would run into someone else's secret, and then he would be chased to be stitched up. He did not want to enter the building, but how was he supposed to find Wu Sheng? "I need to be careful. When Xu Yin and the rest can appear, I'll go in to explore. It's fine to waste more time." Chen Ge was very careful. He would not take unnecessary risks. This was one of the experiences he had gained from completing so many trial missions. Hugging the hammer, Chen Ge hid at a junction. That way, even if an accident happened, he could escape. The plan was not bad, but he did not stay for long when an accident happened. A woman wearing a red hairpin appeared on the other side of the street. She wandered aimlessly down the street and would occasionally enter one of the moving buildings like she was looking for something. Before the woman arrived, Xu Yin warned Chen Ge that the woman was very dangerous. She was not a red specter, but she could make Xu Yin feel threatened. Chen Ge became careful. He ran down the street in the opposite direction from the woman, but the woman seemed to have her eyes on him. She soon reappeared. This repeated several times, and Chen Ge had nowhere else to go. He could only hide in the buildings on the side of the street. Sneaking up to the second floor, Chen Ge leaned against the window and looked down. This was the first time he had observed the woman at such a close distance. A bright red hair clip, long black hair, and a featureless face. The woman wandered the street for a while and then left. She seemed to be unable to harm the people hiding in home. Chen Ge's attention was still focused on the faceless woman when the noise in his ears suddenly grew louder. It was hard to describe, but it sounded like a man and a woman kissing. Footsteps came from the house next door. Chen Ge wanted to leave, but it was too late. The door opened, and a monster with 2 human heads appeared at the door. He was dressed very formally in a suit and leather shoes, looking like a successful man. Everything below his neck was completely normal, but there was a man's head and a woman's head on his shoulders. The 2 heads were very close to each other, as if they were never willing to be separated. Chen Ge glanced around the room and found an enlarged wedding photo on the bedside table. The man in the picture had the same head as the man on the shoulder of the monster, but the head of the woman in the picture was different. Cheating. The monster's mouth was also sewn shut. When he opened the door and saw Chen Ge, he reacted the same way as the girl who was washing her hair. He took out a needle and thread from his pocket and tried to sew up Chen Ge's mouth. Sewing the mouth means to keep the secret. Are they afraid that I'll tell others about their affair? The sound of kissing grew louder, and it made Chen Ge agitated. He did not mind how other people expressed their love, but at least he had to be careful in public. Seeing how intimate you two are, for some reason, I have the urge to hammer you. Chen Ge did not waste time. He raised the hammer and charged forward. But at that moment, the door to the next room suddenly opened. A tall man, taller than Chen Ge, ran out. He grabbed Chen Ge. Let's go. Who are you? The large man grabbed Chen Ge's arm and ran down the stairs. They ran across the street and hid inside another old building. The man looked strong, but he was physically weak. He had only run for a short distance when he started to gasp for air. As the man leaned against the wall to catch his breath, Chen Ge studied the man. You are Wu Jinpeng. When Chen Ge saw the man's face, he was shocked. Why are you here? Do you know me? When the man heard Chen Ge say his name, he was also confused. Have we met before? Seeing the man's reaction, Chen Ge slowly realized the problem. The Wu Jinpeng before him was not the Wu Jinpeng in real life but a Wu Jinpeng that was created from Wu Sheng's memory. That explained why the Wu Jinpeng before him was much taller and more muscular than he was in real life. In Wu Sheng's mind, his father was tall, kind. In Zhang Ming's world behind the door, the character of a father appeared as well. Both of them were first-time fathers, but the image of Wu Jinpeng and Zhang Dao in the child's mind was like heaven and earth. Big brother, what is going on? Why do all these people want to sew my mouth shut? Chen Ge had been in Wu Sheng's world for quite some time now. Wu Jinpeng was the first normal person he had encountered, and he might be the only one. I have no idea why the neighbors became like that. I went to bed early today, and when I woke up, the sky was already dark, and monsters were everywhere. Wu Jinpeng looked very afraid. Other than the monsters, did you see anyone else? No, only monsters. If you stay in one place for too long, they will come after you. They will sew your mouth shut, bite through your body, suck your flesh, and crush you. Wu Jinpeng's large body was covered in wounds, and the fear in his eyes could not be hidden. Only monsters. Has your family turned into monsters as well? Chen Ge thought this was weird. This was Wu Sheng's world, but he did not see Wu Sheng. Hearing what Chen Ge said, Wu Jinpeng was startled. His mouth fell open, and after a long pause, he nodded. Yes. Brother, don't lie to me. Only by being honest with each other will we have a chance to escape this place. Chen Ge could see that Wu Jinpeng was lying. He definitely knew where Wu Sheng was. Let's not talk about that. We can't stay here for too long. Wu Jinpeng stood beside the window and looked out. Not good, she's coming for me again. Chen Ge followed Wu Jinpeng's gaze, and the faceless woman with the red hairpin had appeared again. Look for you. Why would that woman look for you? Chen Ge also walked to the window. The faceless woman with the red hair clip was consciously approaching them. I don't know. I don't know her. Wu Jinpeng did not look like he was lying. There was only fear in his eyes when he looked at the woman, there was no other emotion. Then why are you so afraid of this woman? Chen Ge asked another question that he did not understand. Does she want to kill you? What will happen if she catches up to you? Quote. Hearing Chen Ge's question, Wu Jinpeng used a strange gaze to study Chen Ge. Isn't being chased by a faceless woman a very scary thing in and of itself? Brother, if she really catches up to me, do you think I'll still be alive to talk to you? Quote. I mean, there's no need for us to keep hiding from her. If we don't try to understand her, we'll never be able to defeat her. Sooner or later, she'll catch up to us. Before Chen Ge could convince Wu Jinpeng, the faceless woman had already reached the first floor. Her originally lowered head slowly lifted to look up. The featureless face was aimed at Wu Jinpeng. The woman seemed to have ignored Chen Ge, who was next to him. The red hair clip looked like it was about to drip blood, and the woman's ill-fitting maternity dress dragged on the ground. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Wu Jinpeng dragged Chen Ge into the room next door. When she comes up, we'll jump down from the second floor. Once we disappear from her sight, we'll have some peace. Quote. This was not the first time that Wu Jinpeng had done something like this. He was very familiar with it, and his body that was much stronger than in real life allowed him to perform many difficult movements. Even jumping down from the second floor would not be a problem. Come down now. Standing next to the window, Chen Ge hesitated, but in that short moment, the door behind him suddenly started to shake like something was pounding on it. He had no better idea. He picked up the backpack and jumped out of the window. His feet landed on the ground and rolled. Before Chen Ge could check whether the things inside the backpack were damaged, Wu Jinpeng's urging came into his ears. The two climbed up from the ground and ran as fast as they could toward the other side of the street. Where are we going now? I don't know. No matter where we go, she will catch up with us. We can only try to stay as far away as possible and wait for her to come before we escape to another place. Wu Jinpeng did not even look back as he ran at full speed. He did not know when he would be able to escape from danger. The whole world seemed to be against him. There were monsters everywhere, and he was being chased by a faceless woman that he could not shake off. Even breathing was a luxury. Chen Ge looked at Wu Jinpeng, who was running away. His figure overlapped with Wu Jinpeng's in real life. This man must have had such an experience where he was at a loss and didn't know what to do. Every day, he was flustered, burdened with responsibilities, and chased by life. Perhaps the Wu Jinpeng in real life had already forgotten about it, but Wu Sheng had remembered everything. This child was a little precocious. He knew a lot of things, but he couldn't completely understand them. At the crucial moment when he was building his worldview, he was influenced by the ghost fetus, and some kind of change happened to him. The worlds behind the children's doors were connected to the real world. Everything in the scenario could be traced back to the corresponding people and events. This should be the unique feature of the worlds behind the 9 children's doors. The connection between the illusory worlds behind the doors and the real world seemed to be a sign that the ghost fetus was slowly walking into the real world from behind the doors. From how Chen Ge saw it, all 9 children's doors had been influenced by the ghost fetus. Carrying the backpack and following behind Wu Jinpeng, Chen Ge's brain turned quickly. Based on the available evidence, each child corresponded to a door, and this door would only appear after the child fell asleep. But of the 9 children, Chen Ge was an exception. If a door appeared next to his bed when he was asleep, Xiao Xiao and the white cat would definitely react. There was no door next to his bed after he fell asleep, but that did not rule out Chen Ge from the 9 children because there was a real blood door next to him. Compared to the other children's illusory doors, the door inside Chen Ge's haunted house's toilet was a real blood door. Do I really have to go through that door to take a look? Chen Ge thought back to a moment in the past. In that moment, he seemed to have seen 3 doors. One should belong to the ghost fetus, the other probably belongs to the me who kept being killed by the doctor, but who does the last door belong to? Isn't the door only opened in the most desperate and painful moment? Was I the one who pushed open the 3rd door? Was I the one who pushed open the door inside the haunted house's toilet? Quote. Even with multiple red specters, Chen Ge still did not have the courage to enter that door. He still remembered what Dr. Gao had said at the underground morgue. To be able to scare Dr. Gao like that, the thing hiding behind the door must be very scary. Chen Ge decided to save the door at his haunted house for the last night. If the ghost fetus was not hiding inside the other 8 children, then that was the only possibility. He knew that the chance of the ghost fetus hiding behind the door at his haunted house was very small. After all, the ghost fetus' main activity area was Eastern Zhejiang. The ghosts that had interacted with the ghost fetus said that it treated Western Zhejiang as a forbidden zone. Chen Ge did not think it would take the risk to enter his haunted house's door under such circumstances. There are no clues, no clues. Chen Ge sighed softly. What kind of emotion did the first person who pushed open the door feel? Chasing these thoughts out of his mind, Chen Ge glanced behind him. The faceless woman was still chasing him, but she was not moving fast. She did not look like she wanted to kill Wu Jinpeng with resentment. With Wu Jinpeng leading the way, Chen Ge ran through the nearby streets, and he became more and more certain that this was the old city. Wu Sheng must have lived in the old city before. This is where the thing that he hates to think about the most happened. It was because of that incident that his family moved to western Zhejiang. The world behind Wu Sheng's door was made up of several streets. It was only 1/5 the size of the old city in real life, and the places to hide were limited. To hide from the faceless woman, they had to enter the houses on both sides of the street, but entering the houses would attract the monsters inside. They kept hiding, and gradually, the monsters came out of the houses and started to chase them. How do we escape? The fear in Wu Jinpeng's eyes was about to overflow. His large and muscular body started to shake when he was faced with the endless monsters. We've almost run through the few streets on the east side. How about we hide on the west side for now? Chen Ge followed Wu Jinpeng for a few laps, and he realized that no matter how dangerous the situation was, Wu Jinpeng would not run west. He purposely avoided the streets on the west side. No, Wu Jinpeng rejected him directly. His answer was too decisive, and it increased Chen Ge's suspicion. No problem, I'll listen to you. Chen Ge could guess why Wu Jinpeng would not forget to go west, and he could understand Wu Jinpeng's concern. As long as we can hold on until dawn, everything should be fine. Everyone will return to normal. Wu Jinpeng kept consoling himself. As long as we survive the night, the sun will rise. Yes, the sun will rise eventually. Chen Ge patted Wu Jinpeng's shoulder. If we can't go west, I suggest we find a way out on the east side. Okay. Just as Wu Jinpeng agreed, an urgent barking came from the west side of the street. Hearing this voice, Wu Jinpeng's expression suddenly changed. He didn't care about anything else and immediately ran towards the west side of the street. What's happening? Chen Ge followed. With his yin-yang vision, he could see several shadows appearing on the street. Don't go there. Chen Ge reacted fast enough, but he still failed to stop Wu Jinpeng. He rushed into an alley on the west side of the street. There was an old storage room at the end of the alley. The wooden door was ajar, and a boy stood helplessly at the door. He was much thinner than other children his age, and he was wearing clothes that did not fit him. His beautiful eyes kept blinking like he was curious about everything. Wu Jinpeng sighed in relief when he saw that the boy was fine. He called Chen Ge over, picked up the boy, and ran into the small room. Daddy, Big Huang has run out. The boy's voice was very soft. He did not seem to speak much. You stay in the room. Daddy will go and find Big Huang. Wu Jinpeng touched the boy's head. There was no trace of fear on the boy. His eyes were calm and gentle, but he was still panting when he spoke. Okay. The boy nodded obediently. When the father and son conversed, the barking came again, and this time, it was very close to them. Other than the barking, the noise of human voices increased, and various shrill voices crawled into Chen Ge's ears. Where did this stray dog come from? What if it bites someone? Is no one going to take care of it? Quote. My boy is still young. Who will be responsible if he gets hurt? Who will be responsible? Quote. Damn dog, get lost. I'm not feeling good. Quote. Beat it. My mom said that all stray dogs are infectious. Quote. Initially, Chen Ge thought that he was the only one who could hear these voices, but when he turned around, he realized that both Wu Jinpeng and the boy could hear them. Wu Jinpeng had already covered the boy's ears with his hands. He still had the smile on his face as he hugged the boy lightly in his arms. Daddy, they're beating Big Huang. They say Big Huang is a stray dog. Don't worry, Daddy will go and rescue Big Huang now. You just stay here. Wu Jinpeng grabbed Wu Sheng's hands and had the boy cover his ears. Close your eyes. When you open them again, Big Huang will be back. Really? Of course. Seeing Wu Sheng close his eyes and his hands over his ears, Wu Jinpeng stood up. You're not really planning to go there, are you? With his yin-yang vision, Chen Ge could see clearly that there were more than 10 people standing on the street. I've promised my son. Wu Jinpeng pushed open the wooden door. Brother, can you do me a favor later? What is it? I'll go and distract them. After I lure them away, you go and rescue Big Huang. Okay. Wu Jinpeng and Chen Ge ran out of the small house one after another. Wu Jinpeng, who walked in front, did not turn back. Chen Ge, who walked behind, glanced at the small house. The boy still followed his father's instructions. He closed his eyes and covered his ears with his hands. The cursing grew louder, and Big Huang kept screaming. A group of people surrounded the street like they were ready to beat Big Huang to death on the street. Don't let it escape. Beat it to death. This stray dog sure runs fast. Where does it think it can run when it's already crippled? It looks for food in the trash every day. Stray dogs are full of viruses. Stop playing around and kill it. Quote. The voices crawled into Chen Ge's ears. They were so shrill that it felt like they were not voices but knives. Stop. The twisting shadows moved away. Wu Jinpeng saw Big Huang, who was covered in needles and thread. His eyes reddened instantly. Big Huang is not a stray dog. It's my dog. It's never hurt anyone, and it's never looked for food in the garbage. Quote. Hearing Wu Jinpeng's voice, the shadows all turned to look at him. Their cold gazes fell on Wu Jinpeng, but no one cared about what he said. The needle and thread continued to pierce through Big Huang's body. I'll take care of it. My son has been playing with it, and he has never been hurt. Big Huang is a good boy. You can return it to me. Quote. From the voice to the tone, every word was incredibly real. It was like Wu Jinpeng had said something similar in real life and Wu Sheng had memorized it. Return it to you. How can a homeless man like you guarantee that this animal will not hurt anyone? You should take care of yourself first. Quote. This is hilarious. Isn't a dog raised by a homeless man a stray dog? Yes, I think he would look for food in the trash himself. Wu Jinpeng's voice became more and more piercing. His body kept trembling, but he still said rationally, my child's health is not good. That dog is his only playmate. To us, that dog is like family. You have a child. Do you take your child to beg for money? Quote. No wonder he doesn't want people to say that the dog is a stray dog. If a homeless man's dog is a stray dog, then wouldn't a homeless man's child be a stray child? My child is not a stray child. Wu Jinpeng's hands were shaking. His eyes were red. He picked up the trash on the ground and tossed it at the group of people. As long as I am alive, my dog will not be a stray dog, and my child will not be a stray child. The twisted shadows stared at Wu Jinpeng. The monsters' mouths were all sewn shut, but for some reason, even though their mouths were sewn shut, the shrill voices did not disappear. After being attacked, the monsters all took out long needles and black threads from their pockets and rushed at Wu Jinpeng. According to the plan, Wu Jinpeng lured the monsters away, and then Chen Ge walked out from the other side. He picked up Da Huang from the ground. Da Huang's body was covered in needles and threads, and blood leaked out from various parts of his body. He had been beaten to death. This Da Huang had a different coat color from the one in real life. If everything was real, the Da Huang in real life should be the second dog that Wu Jinpeng adopted. Holding the dead dog in his arms, Chen Ge lifted his head to look at the old hut. The boy inside the hut still had his hands over his ears, but his eyes were open. He had witnessed everything. The pair of eyes that were curious about everything was currently staring at the dog in Chen Ge's arms. The impact of this scene on Wu Sheng is quite big. Chen Ge did not know what to do. He felt like returning now would be too cruel to the boy. Even behind the door, he did not want Wu Sheng to experience that kind of despair again. A child who doesn't even know what death is has to witness death like this. Chen Ge placed Da Huang's body inside his backpack and carried the backpack back to the hut. Where's Da Huang? The boy lifted his head to look at Chen Ge. It's sleepy, so it's asleep. Several minutes later, footsteps came from the alley. Wu Jinpeng pushed open the wooden door. I'll lure them all to the eastern street. I'll go with you. You won't be able to handle this alone. Thank you. Wu Jinpeng looked at Chen Ge gratefully. He was about to leave when the boy suddenly grabbed the corner of his shirt. Why are they chasing you? The boy looked at Wu Jinpeng. Daddy is playing hide and seek with them. Do you want to join us? Wu Jinpeng touched the boy's head. Yes. Then hide inside this wooden box. Don't run around, and don't make any noise. Do you understand? Yes. The boy jumped into the box and sat obediently in the corner. Wu Jinpeng touched the boy's head. Little brat, don't get caught. You have to hold on until daddy arrives. You're just going to leave him alone. You're going to leave him here alone. Chen Ge did not think that leaving Wu Sheng alone was the best choice. I'll lure them away. I'm the one who started this. It has nothing to do with the boy. I can't let him suffer pain that he shouldn't. Wu Jinpeng closed the lid of the wooden box and ran out. Chen Ge looked at Wu Jinpeng's retreating back and then turned back to look at Wu Sheng. The boy was hiding inside the box with his hands over his mouth. He did not say a word but silently watched Wu Jinpeng run out. The boy hasn't spoken. Is it because of his father's request? Chen Ge felt like he had missed something. Never mind. As long as I follow Wu Jinpeng closely, everything will be solved. In Wu Sheng's eyes, he was just a child hiding under his father's protection. He saw all the difficulties that this family faced, but he was just a child. He was powerless. He could only watch his father walk ahead of him and bear the pressure alone. Chen Ge was afraid that he might expose Wu Sheng's location if he ran too slowly. He did not dare stay in the small room for too long. He closed the old wooden door and chased after Wu Jinpeng. There were no stars or moon in the night sky. The attics on both sides of the street gave off a faded stench, making one feel suffocated. Wu Jinpeng rushed ahead. He had no idea what was ahead of him, but he had no other choice. To prevent his dog from being treated as a stray and to prevent Wu Sheng from becoming a homeless child, he had no choice but to run forward. Other than the neighbors, the monsters with sewn mouths should represent the difficulties in life. More and more monsters were chasing after Wu Jinpeng. They were all dressed differently. There were urban white-collar workers in bright clothes, vagrants in tattered cotton-padded jackets, thieves with knives hidden in their hands, and even more people in ordinary clothes. They looked like strangers in real life. Rolling eyes, condescension, bullying, with the influence of the ghost fetus, the evil was magnified infinitely. Chen Ge did not dare imagine what would have happened if Wu Jinpeng did not exist in Wu Sheng's world. How was such a young child going to face so many scary monsters? Chen Ge suspected that Wu Sheng would be trapped in this despairing world forever and become the ghost fetus, most suitable host. Fortunately, he has a great father. Wu Jinpeng is the only light in this dark world. Wu Jinpeng ran down the endless dark street, chased by a monster with a sewn mouth. There was nowhere to hide and nowhere to run. Even so, Wu Jinpeng still tried his best to buy time. I'm afraid this is why humans are humans. The ghost fetus lured the chosen children into despair and opened an illusory door for them, but the world behind these children's door was different from the real world behind the door. No matter how despairing and painful the children's world was, there was a ray of light that could not be extinguished. Jiang Ming's world was guarded by the old lady and his mother, and Wu Sheng's world was guarded by Wu Jinpeng. In their memories, there was always a safe haven that they could stop at. Running behind Wu Jinpeng, Chen Ge slowly gained a deeper understanding of many things. When he first obtained the black phone, he knew that there was a door inside his haunted house. At the time, he was only afraid of the door. That was the natural fear of the unknown. But as he learned more, Chen Ge's view of the door kept changing. The door was pushed open by those in despair. On the other side of the door was not a world of redemption but an abyss of despair. The door was evil and scary. Initially, Chen Ge did not want to get close to the door, but with the threat from the Society of Strange Tales, when his life was threatened, he had no choice but to get close to the door. After some contact, he realized that the door did not represent fear, and it was not the same as despair. He would not control the door like the Society of Strange Tales and gain benefits from it, but subconsciously, he did not hate the door that much anymore. At the school of the afterlife, Chen Ge met the painter behind the door. The madman wanted to build a heaven behind the door, to grow a small flower on the soil of despair. The painter failed in the end, but what he did once again shook Chen Ge's view of the door and the world behind it. The thing that really made Chen Ge start to reflect happened at Zhongyuan Apartments. When he saw his young self being pushed down a tall building by a man in a white coat, when he heard what he had said before, his view of the door really started to change. Perhaps the children's world behind the door is no different from the real world behind the door. The real world might have light behind the door as well. Chen Ge looked at Wu Jinpeng, who was running, and the monsters chasing after him. The light behind the child's door is chased by countless monsters. If there is light behind the door in the real world, then he will be chased by something even scarier and darker. What is the light behind the door like? The image of his parents flashed across his mind, and Chen Ge was suddenly reminded of something that had happened a long time ago. He took out the wooden toy that had been stolen by the ghost fetus from the hidden compartment of his backpack. This toy was given to me by my father before he went to bed. At the time, he wished me a happy birthday, but he had already given me a birthday present during the day and wished me a happy birthday. There was no reason for him to say it again at night when I was about to fall asleep. Furthermore, at the time, he did not pass this present to me but placed it directly on the bedside table behind me. Chen Ge thought back to more details. Was this originally meant for the shadow? Quote. Looking at the bloody toy in his hand, Chen Ge slowed down. This is a birthday present for the shadow. Then, the last happy birthday was also meant for the shadow. Could it be that he had already discovered something at the time, but neither I nor the shadow realized it? Quote. Stop spacing out. Run. Wu Jinpeng was already out of breath. Seeing that Chen Ge had slowed down, he enthusiastically pulled on Chen Ge's sleeve. Don't stop. I know a place where we can shake them off. Quote. Wu Jinpeng led Chen Ge to a junction at Western Street. There was a private hospital there. It was not that big, and the decorations were simple, but even though it was small, it had all the necessary facilities. There is a back door at the hospital. Last time, that was where I shook them off. Those people did not dare come in. If the monsters did not dare come in, doesn't that mean that there is something scarier than them inside this hospital? Let's go in first. Wu Jinpeng led Chen Ge into the hospital. When the monsters saw them enter the hospital, they all stopped at the junction. After they ran into the hospital, the various noises around Chen Ge's ears disappeared, and only the sound of children crying remained.